Okay, gang. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Hi. Welcome to the show again. I'm back. Great to be here. Did you guys miss me? I know it's been a minute since I've had a live stream, okay? Uh, my editor released a couple videos while I was gone. Hopefully that tied you over. Here, hold on. Let me adjust my stuff so it's not so at the edge there. Sorry about that. I'm trying to readjust to streaming life, okay? It's been a minute. Zephyr Hash, nice to see you. Zephyr Hash says, I'm more qualified than JD Vance to be vice president because I haven't fucked a couch or a dolphin, question mark. We'll get to that. Don't worry. Once people start getting in here, I said 6, right? But I'm live a little early. But I wanted to, get do some vocal warm-ups, if you will, for lack of a better term. Just get used to talking to the ether again, right? And dealing with all of you. What all have you been up to, dear viewers, dear chatters, dear people? Admiral Gibbs says, did you see the Biden speech today? I did not. I did not see the Biden speech today. I was dealing with some stuff. When did he give it? What was it on? Tell me about it. Yeah, but Admiral Gibbs, you always say holy God, even when he does perfectly normal. Like, you say it, like, all the time. You're always saying how bad it was when it's just perfectly normal. So, frankly, I don't believe you. If maybe someone like I'm Really Important said it was bad, then I'd believe him, right? I'd have to see it for myself, and we'll have to see how that goes. Was it worth seeing? Was it worth a watch? How about Piers Morgan? No, I don't take Piers Morgan seriously either. Only Mr. Bill says Gibbs is right. Piers Morgan is not a lefty. He's many things, but he's not a lefty. What are you talking about? What kind of nonsense have you guys been up to while I've been gone? Look, I've only been gone a week, and you're already being spitting out nonsense like Piers Morgan is a lefty. He's not. He may not be like super conservative, but he's not a lefty. Wait, Wick still streams? I still stream. We're back. We're back in the saddle, boys. We're getting it done. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. A lot of stuff happened on my vacation. Aircraft Sparky says Biden is drafting the next enabling act. The enabling act. You gotta fill me in. What do you mean by the enabling act? Maybe I'm just not getting it. Show us Lola. Lola is upstairs, I believe. So Lola's busy guarding the upstairs for now. Wick is back. Wick is back, baby. We're just doing I don't know how long we're going to stream tonight, right? We're just doing a nice, gentle, get back into the algorithm stream. Make sure that people know I'm alive again. Welcome back. Thank you. Enabling Act of 1933. Okay, so way back in the day. Okay, so you're ancient history, basically. Admiral Gibbs says Biden honestly needs to step down and let's have 6 months of Kamala. No, I think Biden can absolutely do the job. And thank you for the sub, the sub on Twitch for 17 months on a 12-month streak. I really appreciate you, buddy. Bronco Kid, good to see you back, Wick. Good to be back. Lethy Waterkai says, don't care, I was having withdrawals. Well, I am back, like I said. I'm going to wait till 6 to get into the actual content today, right? We got a lot to talk about, right? I want to cover a few things that have happened while I've gone. I want to cover the JD Vance stuff and the kind of the state of the race, where everything is, and my thoughts on it. I'm still nervous. A lot of people have a lot of enthusiasm for Kamala. Fair enough, but I worry. I'm a worrier at heart. So we're going to talk about some of my concerns going forward for this. We'll see, right? One of my main concerns with all of this is we are using July polling data to make decisions. Traditionally, July polling data hasn't meant shit. Okay, I'm just being real with you all. the polls are all wonky until we get to September, October, and November. And then they all converge. They're always wonky. And then they'll all, about late October, start to race towards where it's actually at. Yeah, it happens every time. And so I'm very concerned with people declaring victory or declaring defeat at this juncture. Then again, this cycle is very, very different. It's very, very weird. It's a weird cycle. Okay, we've had an assassination attempt. We've had the nominee drop out and another nominee get nominated, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's a lot. We have a lot to talk about, okay? But I want to cover that, but I also want to talk a little bit about Israel and Palestine, okay? And specifically Hezzbollah and their recent attack that killed that hit, I believe, a soccer field where some kids were playing. Tragic. And what that means kind of for the region, whether or not Israel will feel justified in responding and able to respond, what that kind of response will look like, whether that will inflame already heightened tensions in the region. There's a lot to discuss. What are you linking me, Gibbs? All Sides? I don't know what All Sides is. I'm not familiar with this website. What is it? I'll click on it later, buddy. Save it in your pocket, okay? Save it in your pocket. We'll get to it later, I promise. Bestie Johnson, nice to see you. Temperance Quill, hello. Polls don't really mean anything at the moment. Got too many events happening in conjunction. Yeah, that's part of the problem here, is we just have such a roller coaster of things happening. And again, we won't know until later. So again, good or bad, right? We need to withhold judgment. So, but one of my concerns is that there are plays being made now, big plays being made now, based on this information that I don't think is helpful. I don't like it. We'll see though. We'll see. Like, the proof will be in the pudding. What matters, and the only thing that matters, is November 4th, right? Is election day. When we go to the ballot box and we put in our vote, we fill out our little bubbles for whatever candidates we like, and then we vote. That is going to be what the only thing that matters at the end of the day. And so the question becomes, how do we get from here to there? How do we get ourselves in a position where we are more than likely to win on election day? What messages will resonate with voters? Not just a flash in the pan, not just our base, but independents, moderates. Where are these votes coming from? Because again, remember, in America, we have an electoral college system. So it doesn't matter how excited everyone in California is or everyone in Texas is. They are not in play this cycle. No one is expecting either of these states to flip. There's no realistic expectation for that to happen. There's no data showing it might. And so, cool that a lot of Democrats in those states are really, really excited. Does that translate? And that's the question. I think a lot's going to come down to who Kamala picks for her vice president and what that will do to the electorate. Because here, I'm just going to be honest with you, from just a content perspective, from just like a reporter perspective, from a observer perspective, this is entertaining. It's neat, right? It's neat to see because it's like a show. It's like, oh, look, there's a twist and a turn, and ooh, what's going to happen next? And that's a big part of what's driving all this attention, for good or ill, right? Is the fact that a lot of Americans and a lot of people see this as a purely entertainment thing. And to an extent, it is entertainment, right? If you are boring, you don't get attention. You don't win, right? And so entertainment, for good or ill, is a part of our politics. That said, it's very fickle and not something that tends to be reliable. Also, the people, the constituencies that we're reaching out to right now are, again, traditionally fickle. They're unreliable. They've come out before in the past, right? But it's a hit or miss thing. And I worry about that. I am concerned. Obi-Wan Kenobi, nice to see you. Hello. Drexy. He's right about crazy cat women. Oh, JD Vance? Yeah, maybe. Look, crazy people are crazy people. Men, women, children, they're all crazy to a certain extent. But you guys wanna get into it? It's a little past 6 now. People are slowly trickling in, realizing I'm back. Okay, I recognize I've been gone a while, so I'm out of the algorithm. But people are kind of like saying, "Oh, Wick's back," and coming on in. So hopefully they'll join us as we go. But I want to talk for a little bit about JD Vance. When he was chosen, it was before Biden dropped out of the race. I wasn't feeling good about the election at that point in time. Things weren't looking good poll-wise. Things weren't looking good from an energy perspective. It was a frustrating time. Now, that to say, I think that Biden obviously could have pulled it off. He could have gotten better when it comes to messaging and how to campaign and all these things. I think that there was a lot of missed opportunities, unfortunately, because we were all fighting over whether he should drop out. But regardless, it was in that time, right, in that state, that Trump decided to choose JD Vance as his vice presidential nominee. And even in that state of play, I publicly said, and I thought that it was one of the worst decisions he could have made from a strategic perspective. It didn't add anything to the ticket. It didn't appeal to the voters that were outside of his base at all. And generally, it was kind of a dud. Since that has happened, a whole host of information has come out. A lot of things have happened to show that he was an even worse pick than I initially expected he was. And I'm gonna leave the memes aside, right? I think the memes are funny. Look, the sofa seducer meme is gold, okay? But it's just a meme at the end of the day. It's just bullying, poking fun, all that stuff. It doesn't make much of a difference. But then we dig into the details, okay? We dig into the data, and we see that JD Vance is the most unpopular vice presidential candidate in the history of polling, right? Since we started this. So nationally, he's down 6 points, okay? His net favorability rating is about 34%, if I'm getting this correctly. His unfavorables are 40%, and that's nationally. And that's not good. That's, in fact, very bad. However, what is worse is his polling when it comes to where he lives and where he's a senator from, Ohio. In Ohio, let me read these out so I don't get them wrong, okay? Let me read these out, okay? I want to make sure I get it right. Vance's net favorable rating in Ohio, where he's from, his home region, is 16 points down. Negative 16 points. Okay, 28%. In his hometown, in his home region, his home state, view him favorably. The people who know him best like him least. And there's some very good reasons why. Let's read some of these things that people are saying about him. And this was written back in May, okay? So before he was chosen as vice president pick. May 22nd. This was written by a gentleman named Joe R. Tilley of Columbus, Ohio. And he says this. He says, I am hoping that Trump picks Senator JD Vance for his running mate. Then Ohio could get rid of the lying, bootlicking, butt-kissing, weak-willed, integrity lacking, sickening, obsequious sycophant. These are his people, quote unquote, right? These are his boys, okay? They don't like him. They don't like him because he turned their back on them. He, since being elected, right, has advocated for cutting and slashing Social Security, Medicare, SNAP, which is like substantive nutritional. I forget the acronym. It's for food for poor people, basically, is what it does. And again, this feels like a betrayal. If you all know, JD Vance wrote the book Hillbilly Elegy, where he talks about his upbringing from a poor, abusive kind of family and how he kind of grew out of that and got out of that. Okay. This, again, not according to me, but according to Ohioans and the people who know him, the working class people who elected him, they feel betrayed by what he's done because he's basically pulled the ladder up behind him, right? He was able to escape this kind of cycle of poverty in part due to government programs such as Social Security, Medicare, SNAP, all these things, right? And to see someone who supposedly has your back just pull the ladder up behind him so that the things that he benefited, you can't benefit from, yeah, it's going to really, really hurt Trump come the general election. People do not like JD Vance. He is two-faced. It's not good. Not good at all. That aside, have you guys watched some of his stuff, some of his radio appearances, things like that? Or I'm not radio appearances, some of his television appearances on podcasts and things. The dude just screams. There's something uncanny valley about the guy, okay? I can't put my finger on it. And I know this is just vibes. I get that. I can't put my finger on it. But there's something like he's wearing human skin, okay? Like he's like, hello, fellow humans. How are you today? Ah, yes, I see you too like the things that we like. He just comes across as false. And I know that that's vibes-based, right? But again, paired with the criticisms from Ohioans and the criticisms from his home region and just the rank hypocrisy that he's demonstrated over how he's flipped his positions almost entirely on things. It feeds into this idea that he's just not real. I don't know how else to say it. It's like some AI tried to generate a human, okay? They generate a human Trump supporter, and this is what it came out with, okay? I don't know. I'm elated that Trump has picked this man, okay? I'm elated because more than anything else, right? I think that despite the issues the Democratic Party has had these last couple of months, and we've had a lot of issues, right? This has been a game changer for us because as bad as the whole fiasco with Biden's dropout was, and it was bad. I worry that that's going to haunt us in the future. And we'll talk about that, right? This is just a breath of fresh air because I can thank God we still have a chance. So thank you, JD Vance, for being in the race. Thank you, Trump, for picking him because I thought we had lost. I thought we were done. I thought after everything that happened, we were just out of the game. But you have single-handedly put us back in the game. I think we're still in it to win it, gang. I think we're still here to possibly pull a W this November. Okay. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. What do you guys think about JD Vance? Do we have any JD Vance fans in the house today? Anyone want to call in and defend JD Vance's honor? I promise to keep the couch fucking memes to a minimum, okay? To a minimum. But does anyone want to give a positive case for JD Vance? I'll bring you on. I'll let you speak your piece. Tell me why I'm wrong, why I'm incorrect. Aircraft Sparky says, I'm actually agnostic to him. Don't know enough to have an opinion. Fair enough. Millennial in name only says he's right about bitter cat women and the depopulation agenda. I mean, maybe, right? Look, I have issues with anyone who has his stance that he does on things like cutting Medicare, things like cutting Social Security, and things like his opposition to abortion in the cases of rape, right? Anyone opposing that, like, look, I don't like abortion. I'd never participate. But in the cases of rape, that's one of those things where you got to be a real something else to oppose abortion. To let me put this carefully. To advocate for legislation to make abortion in the cases of rape and incest illegal, you have to be a real fucking piece of work to do that, right? I understand opposing it on a moral stance, right? I get it. But to put in legislation that would stop a victim of something like that, yeah, man, not a fan. Okay. But yeah, if you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm giving him a bad rap, please jump backstage and I will pull you in and we can talk. But yeah. Otherwise, let's talk a little bit about the race in general. So I'm seeing a lot of people who are very excited about Kamala Harris. I get it, right? A lot of people wanted Biden out. But I still worry that it was a mistake to drop Biden and place her. Like, some of my major fears about it were turned out not to be true. So, two of the major fears I had going into this was that it would splinter the Democratic Party and we would have a lot of infighting based on who's going to be the nominee. That did not happen, and thank God it didn't, right? It was a real risk, but luckily, because of Biden's endorsement out the gate and everyone kind of rallying around her, that didn't happen. So, bullet dodged in that case, right? So, fair enough. I was wrong on that. I was incorrect. I thought it would happen. It didn't happen. I called it wrong. Fair enough. The second thing I was worried about was that turned out to be baseless, right? Was that it would cause this, that if Kamala got, I was worried that Kamala wouldn't be picked as a VP. I thought someone else would rise up, or not the VP, I'm sorry, the new nominee. I thought someone else would rise up, and then I would have a dilemma on my hands because it would be someone I didn't vote for at all. So I voted in the Pennsylvania primary for 2024. I voted for the Biden-Harris ticket. I wanted Biden, but I also did vote for Harris. So, fair enough. If they had nominated someone other than Biden or Harris, they would have disenfranchised me. They would have disenfranchised me entirely. And that is a red line I have when it comes to supporting a party or supporting a candidate. If you overthrow my vote, I don't support you. Like, straight up. I don't care who you are. You could be the most Democratic Democrat that's ever Democrated, okay? You could have the highest chance of winning in the world, okay? That doesn't matter. You've disenfranchised me. So I was worried that they weren't going to pick Harris and they would go with someone else. And that really did concern me. But that turned out to be baseless. They chose Harris. Thank God. Whoa. Dodged that bullet, okay? Dodged that bullet. I still have concerns, but they're more of a strategic concerns, okay? So I worry that her recent bump in polls, and there is a bump in polls, right? I worry that that's much like we get a bump after the convention, much like after a good debate, you'll usually get a bump in polls. I worry that that's what that is. I'm worried that this is a transitory bump that will not continue for any length of time. I have no way of knowing whether it will or not. We are in unprecedented territory. So I'm just giving you my worries right now, okay? I'm just giving you my fears, if you will. We're talking. I'm getting the rust out. We're kicking back, okay? We're talking. I forget who was Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine was Hillary Clinton's running mate, wasn't he? Pretty sure. 2016. Holy Lazy Duck says, I like Wick. He makes me happy and his guests make me angry. Well, thank you for liking me. I'm sorry I'm getting distracted by chat. I was ranting and then chat, I started reading it. And now I can't stop, gang. You guys are great. Look, I missed you guys. I'm not gonna lie. I was tempted to try to do a stream while I was in Florida, just to give you guys a pool stream so you could watch me swimming around. I didn't have the equipment for it, but I was tempted to go out and buy like a webcam or something, right? And try to set something up because I missed you guys. I like having you guys in my chat. I like having you guys yell at me and talk to me. I enjoy it. I enjoy the back and forth, okay? Now, it was nice to touch some grass, right? To get my mind off things. And it was super fun, but I did miss you guys, okay? So never let anyone tell you that I don't like you guys because I like you guys most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. Fuck you, Wick. Well, fuck you too, buddy. You know how I like to throw the odd tomato at you, Wick. Yeah, no, it's good. We have a healthy relationship. It's great. It's fun. Don't lump all righties as homophobes if you don't like being called all types of names back. Well, I want to talk about that later, right? I think we talked about that before my vacation, but it's always good to touch on it again. Don't brush with all these broad strokes. I know it's tempting. I know that people want to do this tit for tat things like, oh, they're doing it to us, so we got to do it to them. It doesn't actually stop it from being done, right? No one is being tit for tatted out of being a jackass. They're just going to escalate, and we can see this happen. Have you guys not been paying attention for the last 20 years? 30 years? 40 years? Like, this has been an escalatory process that there's been some ups and downs, right? But generally, it's tended pretty up because, again, every side is justifying each other's side. Like, look at what they're doing. That means that we can do it too, and we should do it harder. But yeah, revenge is not a policy, but an emotional response. Holy Lazy Duck. Yes, true. It's this thing where it feels, man. It feels bad when someone calls you a name and you want to call them a name back. I get it. I indulge in it. I'm not perfect on this, okay? But ideally, we shouldn't. Like, we have never had the policy that Michelle Obama put out during her speech. When they go low, we go high. We've never done that. No one has done that for the last 20 years, okay? There's no high road that's been taken. And we can see the results of that on all sides of the aisle, right? That no one's being good faith. They're all being destructive little weasels, okay? And you know why they're doing that? Do you know why? Because it works to get you elected. It doesn't work to get your policies passed. It doesn't work to make the country better. It doesn't work to make things more stable in America. But it gets you elected. It gets you money. It gets you that cash, brother. Right? Think of it this way. What makes more money? A stream where everyone's nice, conciliatory, speaking in good faith, talking one to another like they're human beings. Or a shit-flinging fest where someone's exposing drama, where they're saying, oh, look at what X did to Y. Look at all these things that have happened. Oh, my God, it's so crazy. Which makes more money? obviously the second one. I think that's pretty clear. There's some outliers here and there, but in general, that is by and large the best way to get attention and to get money. By and large. Again, not everyone's cup of tea. I get it, but most people's cup of tea. And a lot of people will say they don't like it, but who they're throwing their cash out, gang. Who they're tuning into, gang. It ain't again, in general, it ain't the calm, reasonable streams where you have people that are nice and friendly on all sides. It's the crazy shit. It's the crazy shit. Well, you right now? I'm not being crazy right now. I'm being nice, calm, just talking, right? Now, if I were to pull someone on that disagreed with me on JD Vance and we started screaming at each other, my viewership would go up. My money would go up. You guys would start super chatting and donating and all that. Okay? But since I'm just talking at chat and just kind of rambling, I'm not going to get near as much. And that's fine. I get it. I understand. I know how the game's played. There's nothing wrong with the occasional drama stream, okay? I'm not saying it's immoral or anything. I don't mind it, but yeah. Let's keep going though, because we still have more to talk about, okay? Let's start here. Who do you guys want? If you're a Democrat, okay, if you actually want Kamala to win, who would be your favorite pick for vice president? Like, who would you, if you were an advisor to Kamala and you were like, okay, we need to win this thing. This is how we do it. We need to pick this person as vice president candidate. Sneeko, Bashir, Mark Kelly, Captain Picard, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Okay, the memes. Artemis Fowl says, I heard drama. Artemis Fowl, do you want to argue about me about JD Vance? I know I told you in private, right? I think I told you in private that I think JD Vance was like a terrible pick. So if you want to argue with me about that, you can jump backstage. I'll pull you in. Big JC says Shapiro or Bashir, not Kelly. Millennial in name only says Andy Bashir. Arcraft Sparky says Shapiro or Booty Judge. Those are the best options. Holy Lazy Duck says anyone except Shapiro. Tuna Chip says, I'm crazy for this, but Buttigieg? She should pick Hillary Clinton. Okay, so first of all, maybe I should have asked first what you guys would say is the worst pick, okay? Because Hillary Clinton, look, I don't mind Hillary Clinton. I know she gets a lot of hate. She's not my favorite, but I don't mind her. Yeah, no, don't pick Hillary Clinton. I mean, we want to win. Okay, yeah, you guys are memeing. Here's my argument. Okay, I think there's several decent picks out there. Bashir's fine. I think Kelly's fine. I wouldn't be. I think they're okay picks. They're not. Nothing particularly wrong with them as I understand it. Not that I'm aware of, at least. But if I were going to go for a win, like a solid win, I think that the obvious choice, and I say obvious, and I'll explain why. The obvious choice we need, and I'm sorry, Holy Lazy Duck, this might make you mad, Shapiro. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. If you want to shore up and make sure that come November 4th, Pennsylvania goes blue, the best path towards doing that is Josh Shapiro. Again, Pennsylvania is a bellwether state. What does that mean? It means that when it comes to it is a microcosm of the nation, right? It has traditionally been very, very divided. Back in 2020, Biden only won it with about 20,000 votes, right? It's very, very close. It's always very, very close. Shapiro's favorability as a Democrat in Pennsylvania is very high. He won his election by 16 points. Okay? 16 points. He got 54% of the vote. His opponent, who is his opponent? I forget his name off the top of my head. His opponent got 41%, okay? I think I got my numbers right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got my numbers right. Shapiro is the moderate choice. And that's what we need. We need to tack center. Kamala is pretty progressive. Kamala has pretty progressive policies. That's good. But we can't win with just progressive policies. We can't. We need a moderating force on the ticket. And I think that that's the reason why I don't think Buttigieg is a great choice for VP. He's fantastic as an advocate, but I don't think he adds to the ticket. Shapiro adds to the ticket. It brings in voters that would normally be wary of Kamala and gives them a permission to vote for Kamala. I think that a lot of people in the Rust Belt like Shapiro. I think that his appeal transcends Democratic and Republican lines. He isn't universally liked, obviously, but I think when we look at the data, he is a clear, outstanding favorite in that region, and we need that region. Look, again, Kelly's great. Kelly's an astronaut guy, okay? Astronauts are cool. Bashir's fine. I don't know. I actually don't know a lot about Roy Cooper, to be honest with you. I don't know about Roy Cooper, but when it comes to Shapiro, right, I think that he sends a lot of signals that we need to send to the electorate in general. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. The People's Elbow says, what specifically represents the tack to the middle? What does that look like policy-wise and rhetorically? So I'll give you an example. He condemned a lot of the recent Hamas protesters or the pro-Palestinian protesters. He condemned them in very sharp language. I think that he has he's pro-Israel, but he's anti-Netanyahu. I think that is probably the clearest example I can give you of his moderate stance. That doesn't appeal to the far left extremes, right? In fact, it turns a lot of them off. But it signals to everyone else that he will be a moderate pick when it comes to these things. Why not Shapiro and 4? What do you mean? Why not Shapiro and 4? Why not Barack Obama for VP? I mean, look. Why not Barack Obama for VP? Why not? I think people want something different. Let's just take a moonshot. LeBron is almost done with his NBA career. Okay. Why not Taylor Swift if we're just making up names? Why not Wick? Okay. I cannot confirm or deny whether or not I got a call asking to vet for Kamala's VP choice, okay? I can't confirm or deny. Many are saying that it might have happened, okay? There are anonymous, unsubstantiated reports out there that I am on the short list, okay? That's a thing. I would not turn it down. If I got tapped for this, I would do my duty to the country. I would be the moderate choice, okay? I have demonstrated cross-aisle appeal, right? My favorability ratings would beat out a lot of my contenders. I'm not going to lie, right? But I think that pragmatically, if I was the advisor to Kamala Harris, we tap Shapiro as the VP. We just have to, right? I don't think she's going to lose any votes for it. I don't think anyone who won't vote for her because she picked Shapiro wasn't going to vote for her anyway. It's just true. And I think that it gives a permission structure to a lot of people who are leery about some of her more progressive tendencies to vote for her. Shapiro has been great in these last 2 years as a governor. A lot of the people who I know personally in real life, my family, they like Shapiro. And they're MAGA guys, okay? They're MAGA. And they like Shapiro. They may not vote for him, but they think he's done a great job as a governor. And I think that if we can peel away some of those people, like we got in the bag. Again, Shapiro's the guy if we want to win. Artemis Fowl wants to come in, so I'll bring him in. Hi, you're live. Hello. Hello.
This is wait, so I'm not Artemis Fowl.
Oh, that's okay. How are
I'm
you?
I'm doing well. How was your birthday kind of vacation thing? I know that the actual birthday stream is
Oh
coming
yeah,
up.
it's Ashes. Sorry, you guys have a very similar background. And I'm on streamer mode, so I can't see names. So, and you start with
Oh,
name. You start with A. Okay. Yes, Ashes. Gotcha. Gelatinous Rube. How are
that
you?
is correct. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How have you?
So
It's been a
my
busy week.
it has. I've been gone for the week. But um I cheated a little. I was still watching some news. My parents, they like to watch Fox's 5 at 5, okay? They love
Hmm.
that show. So, because I was spending time with them and because I love my parents despite their bad political opinions, I sat and I watched with them and I kept my mouth shut, okay? I was just like, "Oh, okay." And I would nod and I would smile, right? I didn't want to start fights, okay?
Saintly patience.
Indeed, indeed. And I listened to kind of their reasonings for why they wanted to vote for how they did. So my mom, bless her heart, my
Oh
mom,
no.
the only reason she said she doesn't like Kamala, and she admitted it's not a very good reason, but she says she doesn't like her outfit. If she dressed more like the White House press secretary lady,
Hmm.
her words, not mine, then she might vote for her. But she doesn't like the pantsuit stuff that she wears. And bless her heart, look, gang, I don't think you're all prepared for the takes that are coming out for why normies will or will not vote for the candidate they will or will not vote for. It's gonna be the pettiest stuff you've ever seen.
I
But
appreciate
yeah,
her creativity, right?
yes.
Because we've been hearing about speech and why speech does matter or doesn't matter and why dementia might not really disqualify you from running. But the outfit is something I
Sure.
haven't heard on Twitter or anywhere else, frankly.
Yeah, me neither. And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, this is the silent majority maybe that we're hearing from right now." My mom tends to call it. She 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 used to vote Democrat back in the Clinton era, right?
Hmm.
She voted for Clinton both times. She voted against Al Gore though, and since then, I think the only other time she voted Democrat was 2008 Obama. Other than that, she's gone straight red.
Hmm.
As far as I know, maybe again, what she does in the voting booth, I don't know for sure, but just talking to her, that's the impression I get. But I'm just curious from your end, right? Like you're not generally a political guy, right? Or at least most of the content I
I
see
don't
from
talk
you.
about it
Yeah,
publicly.
yeah.
No,
The
I kind
most
of
of
exited it.
yeah, most of the content I see from you is RPG related. But I am very curious what your thoughts on all of this is, just from someone outside of the sphere. Give us your takes, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
so I left the political sphere, not that I had like some major presence in it to begin with, but I left the political sphere in, I want to say like 2017, because I was in a lot of groups, we'll say, that were spreading popular memes about electing Donald Trump, or just, it was like the Facebook meme ecology back before advertising rules completely decimated all of the community pages that were available. I left it because there was this weird horseshoeing the moment that Trump got elected, where people started talking about like further and further, like more insane political takes just to like compete with one another. Like, it'd be like, oh, we can't have National Socialism, we need National Bolshevism. That's what
Yes.
the right needs to be focused on. Well, it can't be national Bolshevism. The right needs to be about international Bolshevism because capital is by its nature international. So I was like, okay, I'm done. I saw that. I was like, a great burden has been lifted off my shoulders. I no longer need to worry about this. And I'm observing the same thing in the past week because all of a sudden, the attempted assassination of a guy who is just like you has been completely forgotten. in favor of getting women fired from Home Depot.
You guys, well, I won't say you guys, right? But
It's not me, guys. I don't associate with these people for this reason.
I get you. So here's how I see this as a thing, because I was wrong about this. This is another thing I was wrong about. I've been taking some L's on my predictions recently. Okay, bear with me. When it happened, there was a gentleman on my stream. Okay, as it was occurring, right? As the news was coming out, as soon as I heard about it, I fired up stream. We talked about it. I had a bunch of people on. A gentleman by the name of Just Ice, he came on, and one of the things that he said that I think everyone pushed back at, and me included, he said, this won't be talked about in a couple weeks. No one will be talking about this. And I thought that was silly. I thought, no, this is going to be something that really changes the dynamic. I think this is going to be something that really changes the rhetoric, that changes what we're discussing, right? In the moment, I was pretty sure that this was kind of like a game changer. I was wrong. Everyone just changed topics. As in the immediate aftermath, a couple things happened, right? That I pretty, predicted. Everyone went on a canceling spree, right? Everyone decided to, anyone who's made a negative comment, not only can you just disagree with them, you have to find out where they work and you have to call up their employer, right?
Yeah.
As you mentioned.
But only if they have no actual power over their fellow man.
Sure. Because if you have power, you can't get canceled. Let's be real, okay? People with power don't get canceled because they have power. It's the people who don't have any power that suffer the most.
But even small power, technically speaking, you could do terrible things to your local IRS agent.
Yeah, but you don't have an institutional or social power, which is a different thing. There's different types of power. Power is not a... we're going to get distracted with this, so I won't go too far into it, but power isn't a mono thing. It's not a mono...
it's not fungible.
No, it is fungible. It's not... It's not something that translates, though, across different venues. There are different... I'll say it this way. There are different types of power. And a power in one silo does not necessarily mean you have any other power outside of that silo. It's contextual. And I know people hate that word, but it is. Fungible, maybe, right? But you can trade different types of power around in certain contexts. Anyway, regardless, that's what people spent their political capital on. The political momentum that was gained, right? And there was a lot of political momentum gained, was squandered because they decided to spend it and change the conversation from someone tried to kill a presidential candidate to who said bad things about it and how can we cancel them. And again, to be clear, the bad things were bad. They shouldn't have been said. It was gross for people to say them. But we can't tit for tat this. We don't get to, if you believe in free speech, you don't get to try to cancel someone for jokes that you don't like. You don't. And a lot of people did, and it just changed the conversation from someone tried to kill our political candidate to who can we cancel today and why is that bad? And then two things happened. JD Vance was chosen as VP pick, which changed the conversation to him, and Biden dropped out, which overwhelmed any other discussion. And I think this is indicative of just how conversations go these days politically. It's not going to be a world where anything has lasting significance. That will be rare. What will happen is we will live in even more than we did before, a political present where it's the last 2 to 3 weeks that really matter. I guess to be more correct, the last 2 to 3 incidents really matter, because you can have months where there's no real change, no real incidents that happen, and so the only thing that'll be talked about is the most recent incidents. But when, for whatever reason, we can only talk about the last 2 or 3 things that have happened. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I'd like to push back ever so slightly against the idea that you were wrong. I don't think anybody would blame you for saying or assuming that the political landscape would remain changed or remain influenced by the attempted assassination on Donald Trump several weeks afterwards. That it wouldn't just be disappear. Maybe people would talk about different subjects, but they would still be colored by the assassination. That was the thing that changed that I was not expecting, or I should have expected. Everybody should have expected, because Republicans love to give up the stat game, right? If they could take a little bit, just a tiny win over each other in the moment, they will give up everything. Everything.
I hear this. It's funny though, because in the left-wing circles that's the same critique that inwardly leftists have of each other. Is they're always saying, again, switch Republican for Democrat, switch Republican for conservative, for liberal, switch the words around, and it's the same argument. Both sides think they're losing, right? And both sides think that reason is because they are always infighting and they can't use power how they should. Both sides will say this. I see a lot of right-wingers say this, that we need to start playing dirty pool like the Democrats do and start rallying behind and so using the tools that we have. And I'll see a lot of Democrats say this, that, we need to start playing dirty pool like the Republicans do and need to stop pussyfooting around and playing like taking the high road. But here's the truth, and I said this before, right? Neither side takes a high road. They're all just constantly trying to figure out ways to win and keep power.
Yeah, never. They never do. But I don't even think it's in this instance. It's not even infighting. It's outfighting. It's just the loudest voices taking the opportunity to get a little bit of extra clout, a little bit of extra power. Libs of TikTok is your new political leader when somebody just got almost assassinated. They set him up to have his head blown off on live TV. And your first thought is, I got to know what Libs of TikTok thinks we should do next. That's your political strategy. And then it bled into, we have a suit straight out of the CIA joining for our VP, and also the president isn't competent enough to run, but definitely competent enough to remain president.
You said something there, and I wanna ask before I say anything. Who is they that set him up? Do you think it was a setup?
Terrible timing. Terrible timing. Anyways, when I say setup, no, I don't really believe that conspiracies work like that.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay. We were to have another conversation, but go on.
By they, I mean women. No. You weren't expecting that one.
No, I mean, like, look, nope.
90% of conspiracies, I think, are just taking an opportunity as it presents itself and letting the chips fall where they may, choosing to act or choosing not to act when an independent, different actor makes themselves available. You know, do I think that the Saudi government planned 9/11 from like step 1 to step 200? No, but if somebody, you have one intelligence agent who says, I have a bunch of guys here, they're planning to do something terrible, they need a little bit of help, I can just give them some help. And then the chips fall where they may. I think that's how people act in their normal day-to-day lives. I would be shocked if even the most evil, despicable people running our government or involved in our government or our corporate life, wherever you could imagine them, I would be shocked if they deviated significantly from just this normal pattern of human life. If you were going to do something terrible, why wouldn't you be lazy about it? I can't think of any reason.
So here's the thing. Like, when people say conspiracy, what they comes on in their head is this was a planned thing. And I think that I don't know. I don't know whether or not someone hesitated because they didn't like Trump, right? And reporting. I don't know. There's no way to know. We can guess, but that's all it will be. Those who are saying that this was like a setup, I have some problems with that because there's a lot of evidence, circumstantial though it may be, showing that kind of thing would be the stupidest move I think anyone could make, right? Just from a strategic perspective, it just wouldn't work. You would get found out. It as you can see, like, why, if you were going to plan this, you wouldn't hire some 20-year-old at all, right? Some 20-year-old dude. You wouldn't do that. You would make sure that it wouldn't have. You would have redundancies in place. There would be so many different ways to do it. This would be the worst possible way if you wanted to actually succeed. Again, and keeping the secret. Again, you'd have to have a whole lot of people, a whole lot of moving parts, a whole lot of people would have to keep their mouths shut. And as we know, people love to talk. They wouldn't be able to keep their mouths shut. So again, just from a pragmatic standpoint, planned. Yeah, it
Yeah,
just missed me with
why?
that. Yeah. And yeah, why is another thing. Again, it only lasted 2 weeks. So even if you're on the idea that Trump did it to boost his poll numbers, I've seen that conspiracy, right? That this was a planned, like Trump planned it so that he would get a boost and make sure he won. There's a lot of problems with that. Why would you let anyone shoot at you, right? Actually get a shot off that got that close? No way, no way.
It's getting a lot closer to a successful assassination attempt. I don't really think that Republicans needed any help thinking that the other side wants to kill them. That's kind of their default
Do you
assumption to
think they
begin
do
with.
though? Do you think they actually believe that the state or the left or whatever is out to kill them?
The state? No. But I think you guys really underestimate just how much the political landscape shifted since Rutgers 2015. It was Milo Yiannopoulos' first stop in the tour, which I was at, and that alone was shockingly, to my mind, right? I was still in high school at the time. I was like, wow, this is like really animated. The protesters are really kind of like not violent, but kind of on the verge of violence. You can feel it in the air. They're waiting for a chance to do something terrible. Was the vibe. And the end of that tour was a college on fire. That was the imagery spread around the internet. That stuck with people for the past 8 years, and they've only gotten more fodder on that front since. Which is why it's fun to laugh at the idea of like, well, we take the high road, or we need to start playing ball with these Republicans. The way I'm like, okay, listen, I get it. I get it that I have plenty of criticisms of Republicans. I think the riots the riot scoreboard is pretty clearly tilted in one direction over another. I don't think anybody can really deny that. And it has a significant impact on their psyche, I think.
No, I think that you're right in the sense that, like, I see a lot of my chat, right? They're saying, how dare you both sides this, right? The right is significantly worse. And look, I think the right is worse at this, right? When it comes to being playing dirty pool, if you will. But when it comes to being little shits, I don't think there's much of a difference, right? When it comes to just being little shits, okay? And I think that you're bringing up of the rioters and just the way that people treated a lot of just normal people back in the 2014, 2015, 2016 era. It did turn a lot of people off. And you can say that's stupid, and I would agree that from a like intellectual level, yeah, okay, fair enough, right? You shouldn't let people negatively polarize you on these things just because they're mean to you. You shouldn't let that happen. But people do because it's a very human thing. When you have a bunch of people, I'll tell you a story of my uncle. My uncle, big Democrat, right? Big vote blue no matter who guy. Until 2014, 2015, 2016. Then he switched. Why did he switch? Is because when he would give just what he felt were just normal opinions on race, on gender, on these things, right? He's an old gentleman. He's like in his late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's very much older now. They would call him a Nazi, a racist, all these things, which again, he grew up like in Boston, right? He grew up right in these places where he was a progressive guy, and he took that personally. He's like, what do you mean I'm a racist? Why would you ever call me a racist like this? And this happened like throughout the nation. If you had a bunch of people negatively polarized because of the rhetoric and the name calling and these things. And it sounds stupid when you just say it. But when you experience it, I understand it, right? I understand why people might switch on these things. And people hold grudges. They're stubborn. They have a long memory, okay? And I think that a lot of people just got tired of their normal opinions being couched as racist. And luckily, we've gotten better at that. There's been a lot of pushback against the people who go woke scold, who go id poll, and these things. There's been a lot on the left, from the left, and I am proud to be a strong soldier pushing it back against that shit from the left, that we have gotten a lot better on it so that we have separated ourselves from that. But during that time, we didn't do that. We didn't do that, and it's cost us a lot.
Significantly.
Yes.
I would just push back briefly against the idea that it's stupid. I actually don't think that it's stupid at all. This was a facet of your stream. This was your call-in show when you were discussing Biden's dropout. A major facet of that show was people discussing back and forth, saying like, "Oh, Biden just had a poor debate moment." What does it matter if somebody is speaking poorly, if they can't properly articulate their opinions or finish their sentences in a fashion that's legible to the human mind in any way, shape, or form, can even be interpreted by a computer? Who knows? I don't think that's actually stupid. I don't think that it's stupid to treat the way that people talk about you and talk to you seriously. I think once people start attaching labels to you, I think the right is, by the way, 100% guilty of this. They talk about civil war every single fucking day. Of course somebody's going to shoot back. You're constantly teasing people about how you have all the guns in the country, and eventually one day you're just going to snap. You didn't expect somebody to shoot first under those circumstances? I think that's a little silly. I think you guys kind of set yourselves up for this. But similarly, over 8 years of saying you are a Nazi, an enemy of the state, an enemy of the nation, and un-American, people take that seriously as a threat to their life, or an impending threat to their life, an eventual threat to their life, or at the very least their well-being. I don't think that's silly at all, especially if you watch your nearest city burn down.
Artemis Fowl, welcome to
Hey,
the
how's it
conversation.
going?
What have you been up to?
Howdy, howdy.
Hi. Well, I ordered Chinese food. I'm trying to figure
You
out.
would order Chinese food.
I would.
Xi
It's the best
Jinping,
American.
okay?
It's the American food.
You
it's the
would.
best
I
Americanized food.
understand, right? I got the good old American chili, right? Okay, good
Yep.
old-fashioned American food, and you Chinese
Yep.
food. Go ahead.
I want to point out that the Chinese people hate Chinese food for the most part, the Americanized version of it, because it's hyper sugar. Most Asian diets are actually mostly fish. So,
Walnut shrimp will give you diabetes in about 3 minutes.
oh yeah. But so here's my issue with the way what's your name, Ash? I'm gonna just go with Ash. How you're referencing all the stuff that's taken place. You're saying that what do you think would happen when you're trumpeting that you have more guns than everybody else? But that isn't a thing that the right started. That is a thing the left told the crazy left to calm the fuck down. We don't resort to violence because our enemies have monopoly on violence, so we don't start that because it will end badly for us. I don't think it was the right that said that.
No, I think
an
Tim
argument.
Pool talks about the Civil War every single day.
Yeah, I guess, but one of the biggest issues I have with the Tim Pool thing is that Tim Pool reads the headlines talking about Civil War and it goes, okay, yeah, I guess I could see it. Everybody else has talked about Civil War as well. It's not like an out of the ordinary thing. The Trump the Trump rally shooting, assassination attempt. Oh, we have Andrew Torber that came out and said that the fucking FBI had let them know that the fucking shooter had a pro-Biden account on his website, screaming at fucking Trumples or whatever the fuck.
I don't think anybody disagrees. Sorry, I don't think anybody with two brain cells to rub together would claim that this was not a politically motivated assassination attempt.
Also, I think the big reason why he looked up Biden's events as well is because killing Biden or Trump would just benefit the Democratic Party. because Biden was a terrible fucking candidate for the Democrats, and killing Trump is the existential threat that what the people on the left think he is. It's a win-win. Either way would have worked.
And he jokes in response to that because maybe I want to work at Home Depot someday.
Oh God, yeah. So I don't. So I also don't have an issue with that because here's my problem. Right, pointing out people's Stop. Hold on. Pointing out people's hypocrisy for trying to cancel and get people fired from their jobs, and then using the same tools against them when they were once championing it against their political opponents. I don't have an issue with that. I hold people to their standards. The left has been using that for decades.
Can you tell me what you mean by have an issue with that? Oh, sorry. Rick, you first.
Yeah, just real quick, because that's just factual. Like, yes, but I'll tell you what the left was saying. Hey, they've used it against us. They burned our books. They canceled the Dixie Chicks. Anyone who criticized Bush, anyone who criticized a Republican was seen as satanic. Remember satanic panic back in the day in the 80s, right? The right has done this for years. It's time we fought back. So that same stuff that you just said about how, oh, the left has been doing this for years, so now we have to do it. They said that too. And this is the cycle I'm talking about, where everyone uses what the other people is doing as justifies what they do. And I don't think it does. We need to have principles, and we need to stick by those principles regardless of how the other side acts. That's why I'm so disappointed when people...
the issue I have with this is I know for...
And then I'll let you respond.
But I guess, but if I do, you're going to have to let me go on a diatribe.
I will let you go on a diatribe. This isn't a very long diatribe. I can make it longer if you'd like, but I won't. So here's the deal, right? One of the reasons I was disappointed in Destiny's response to this, one of the reasons I was disappointed in a lot of people's response to this from the left, right? I'm talking about the shooting. Because they have rightfully been complaining, right, about how a lot of people on the right will be disgusting when it comes to calling for violence on their political enemies or laughing when something bad happens to their political enemies. And they were justified in saying that's a gross thing to do. And to see them just cast off at the first opportunity that in order to do the exact same thing because, quote unquote, the other side does it too, so we have to engage in tit for tat, was gross to me. Because if you have a principle that this is wrong, that to mock the dead, to mock people who get hurt in such a serious fashion for political violence is wrong, then you should hold to that principle even when it happens to the other side. And so it just demonstrated a lot of people don't hold that principle, not at their core, that they are just here to win, quote unquote, right? And I think that that's going to lead to a problem. It's led to a problem. It's going to be exacerbated. That problem is going to be exacerbated. And so when I see that the right, as you did, as Dev's done, right? Dev says, oh, they need to take a piece of their own medicine. They've done it for years, and the only way they're going to learn is if it happens to them. I see that same dynamic at play, is they're casting off their principles and saying, well, actually, no, we can do this at this point because we're justified now, actually. And I think that's just going to lead to more tit for tat. Go ahead. Now you can respond.
The left doesn't want to teach these people a lesson. The left wants to kill them, but they have some difficulty getting out of their chairs and doing things like going to work or knowing how to build toasters and things of that sort. So that's why they resort to canceling instead. It's a easier path to inflicting pain upon people, which is why I take a slightly different approach to criticizing the right here. Principles apply to people that you consider to be people. Principles are for people. Destiny doesn't see the right as being people. He doesn't. He doesn't share. He was being completely and totally honest when he said, I hold no sympathy for these people. It doesn't matter what jobs they worked. It doesn't matter what their role in society was. They hold these different opinions. They are resistant to his own. He does not see them as people. I applaud him for his honesty. I wish more people were willing to be honest on the left. I dislike people on the right being honest because, one, they're often just as bad to begin with. We've already established this. And two, you're not giving them a taste of their own medicine. If the right-wing opinion of the left is correct, that victimhood is their currency, you just gave up your own currency, the biggest stockpile in the world, the dragon's hoard of gold that we've rolled up on Appendix C in the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. We've got like 60,000 platinum pieces here. We're going to be rich. We're going to level up so much. You gave it away to make a victim out of a woman who works at Home Depot. It's strategically silly.
Okay, can I go?
Yes.
Okay, the left does not believe in sympathy for people who are on the opposite side of the political spectrum than them. I don't know why we're ever going to pretend that that's the case, but that has never been the case, especially how they treat African Americans when they say something against their political narrative, calling them coons and everything else, where if a black woman comes out... Hold on,
you said I could keep going.
I know,
Wait,
but
no,
because
no,
it's a housekeeping thing, I don't know if you could actually say that and not get...
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I will keep
Yeah, so no
the
search,
left's
please.
vernacular to a minimal. Sorry, what were you saying, Ash?
Well, I was asking, did you think that I was accusing them of being sympathetic to the right? I thought I said...
No, the issue is that here's how things are now. Things are polarized to the point where the left claiming victimhood on something doesn't mean anything anymore. People have thrown off the guise of that actually being worth anything at this point. You can see it in how the Budweiser, Target, all these other brand companies are now doing away with the special interest groups on the certain Pride months. That's all going away. The political realignment of the
threats.
Yeah, but that's not really why they're doing it. They're doing it because they're losing money.
I'm sure it has no influence on their opinions of their marketing.
Corporations will always go for money. That's why they don't do Pride in the Middle East.
What is the positive value of having your store bombed?
What?
What is the positive monetary value? Perhaps this will help clear it up. What is the positive monetary value of having your store bombed?
When
there
is a store actually being bombed instead of somebody just calling in and threatening a bombing, which we have yet to see somebody go to jail or prison for. So once that starts, we can have that conversation. I don't deal with the theoreticals that won't actually
That's not a
happen.
theoretical. Somebody called it in. Is there a positive monetary value to having somebody call it in?
No. I don't know why we would actually think that the store cares about the thought process of the person threatening one store and one store alone, whereas the hundreds of thousands of people that are not going to the stores and causing them to lose 25% of their stock price. I think that they don't actually care about people or the people in those stores. They care about the money that those people have. I don't know why we pretend otherwise.
Can you show why can you see at least it's a little bit of a side? You guys are both green and your icon.
I was here
similar.
first.
Okay. Anyway.
I was here first.
I understand.
Yeah. I mean he's got his camera going, so it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's I thought he was you when he first.
Yeah, no, I saw.
Okay. I just wanted to explain.
He's not upset. He's fine.
No, not. I know. It's not the first time I've had people pretend to be me to get on live streams. It wouldn't be the first time.
Can I just say this? I think that you are the issue I would take with you right now, Artemis, is your thing that the left doesn't care about the other side. I think that there are people on the left who don't care about the other side. Yes, that's true. But I think that there are absolutely people who are on the left, such as me, who absolutely do, and we make that apparent, and I hope we do. One of the problems we have, and I keep harping on this because it keeps remaining true, is we broad strokes everything, and it's a problem. Yep. Right? And so, again, you could talk about the people who have absolutely done this, and there are plenty have, but to say the left in general does this is just, I don't think that's true in a general sense. I think it's true in specific senses. Does that make sense?
Yeah, here's my issue with all this, right? Back in 2020, at the start of the pandemic, we saw people demanding you get a COVID shot or lose your job, watching people's livelihoods and families get destroyed. That was being pushed by one side. The same side that wanted bodily autonomy for their selective, project. But they wouldn't give that to the other side when they said, hey, don't force me out of my job because I don't want to get a medical procedure.
But even then, not all the left was doing this. I was
All
against
of-
vaccine
well,
mandates. I was
So
against.
I can point to like one person on the internet somewhere that does it. Yes, sure, but that wasn't where most of the power is accumulated. We know this. I don't know why we're going to go with the not all.
Because it's true, and this is the reason I pushed out back against Pondering Politics when he's on. Pondering Politics for $5 says, tell Artemis that I care about him and ask him to pretend I'm affectionately flipping him off. Thank you for the $5. But this is what I push back against Pondering Politics when he comes on and does, and you've seen me do it, when he says the right is all these terrible people that are going to destroy America and destroy everything you love. That's true for some people on the right, but it's not true for the right as a whole. And one of the things that I feel even stronger now than I did before the assassination attempt, right? I feel stronger now than I did before the assassination attempt, is that we need to stop seeing the other side as just an enemy. We can have political differences. Like, I have political differences with you. I have political differences with Rube. I have political differences with Pondering Politics. But I still think you're all deserving of respect. I'd never say you are liars. I'd never say that you don't have America's best interest at heart. I think you're wrong, but, right, that's a different thing. But because it's easier and because it sells better, everyone... well, not everyone, but a lot of people, a majority of people online, the talking heads, paint the other side as an enemy that needs to be fought, and it's wrong. It's bad. But I think also Pondering Politics. Answer your DMs. I want to fight about the
I think the issue being is that there's a pendulum swing going back in the Overton window, and the left is reacting to the obviousness of this happening, and so the vitriol is going to go higher on both sides. But the issue is that one side doesn't resort to violence.
Okay, Big JC, if you think this is soy, come on, we're doing call-ins. Jump backstage, I'll pull you in, and you can tell me why you think I'm soy. Anyway, carry on.
Fucking annihilate you any day of the week, JC. I don't even know who you are.
He practices that voice chat. Don't let him pretend. I know it.
In front of the mirror, just like,
yes. No, I grew these vocal cords myself.
Yeah, he was smoking Camels unfiltered for years.
From age 2.
Yeah. No. So I had a few things you were talking about before that JD Vance is a bad pick or whatever. Pick. I don't think it's necessarily going to matter, because just like with your mom and the capriciousness of her choice. When people come down to it, and they're the true swing voters that just don't really care, they're just gonna flip a quarter to see who they're gonna go. They're gonna think back, okay, what's the highlights of this election cycle that are going to impact my choice? I don't really have anything for Kamala. She doesn't really stand out. She doesn't really do anything. Trump almost got killed and stood back up and basically told them to go F themselves. The assassination is going to stick there at the decision time. Not necessarily in the day-to-day news cycle.
In the discourse, but you think that when it comes time to actually vote, that a lot of people...
When people come to think about what actually has happened, I think that'll pop up.
I completely disagree, because you guys followed it up with a week of, see, now we get to do it to you too. What do you think the implication of that is?
Right, who said we can assassinate people?
One pot shot at me. And now I get to throw it back at you.
Right,
do you think the political implications of that are good?
I'm trying to figure out who's been advocating for assassinating the president on the right.
Advocating for assassinating the president. I'm sorry, is that what you took from my sentence?
Yeah, that's the issue. That's what I'm clarifying here. Because you said after a week, we said that we could do it back at you. And I was like, okay, well, hold on.
That we were going to shoot our own president back.
What? Hold on.
Is that the implication?
Round this conversation, okay?
No, he's being obtuse.
No, hold on. No, hold on. Let me just phrase what I got with this.
I will just clarify, and we don't have to do this charade all the times. Anyways, people took the attempted assassination on Donald Trump as an excuse to engage in a little bit of private social terrorism against random citizens with no power of their own, and justified it by saying, see, you made this joke, I cost you your job. So the implication in the average private citizen's life who is undecided is that at any point, if I slip up, I now have a second Eye of Sauron who isn't even offering me money that is going to, at any moment, detonate my life if they just turn this random fat TikToker's eye on my social media accounts.
Yeah, hold on.
They will make a victim anytime somebody victimizes them, and gosh, the left does it to them quite often. They're going to start turning it on random private citizens rather than people who have any kind of levers of power, authority, or institutional capacity to change the country.
Yeah, hold on. I need to clarify something.
Okay.
JC, can you look straight at the camera? You look like the fucking dude from the Geico commercial, the caveman.
He's far more handsome.
I mean, I've gotten worse.
I don't think you. How do you see that? Hold on, turn your light back on.
Oh shit! What's up?
I don't see that.
No. In the dark, he does. The hair color changes immediately, dude. Like it's something different. It's
neither here nor
in the
there.
darkness.
Neither here nor there. Do you want to address anything that Ash just said? That Gillette?
I think the big issue is that would only work if people didn't look at the behavior that was displayed as reprehensible entirely, wishing that people died in the event, and that they wish that the shooter had actually hit home. I think you would have a better case if the statements were reasonable and not way the fuck out there.
Yeah,
I think
like
you'd have an easier
joke.
Yeah. I think, well, yeah, but that's 9/11 jokes.
No, it's the equivalent of a 9/11 joke. I don't care how
Sure.
recently it was, because people are making 9/11 jokes. I'm totally,
yeah. So yeah, but that's the issue. Is that the reprehensible nature of the statements themselves are going to curb that feeling of the Eye of Sauron, because people are going to look at it and go, "Wow, you're a fucking terrible person for saying that." That's going to be the first initial reaction. Maybe in like a year,
they're a terrible person for saying it.
Yeah, but I think in a year, maybe people will come back and think about that.
She lost her fucking job over it.
That's not this. Okay.
After like a decade of complaining about losing your fucking job over it. That's the problem.
If I may translate.
In a vacuum, sure, reprehensible. Nobody disagrees with that. If you're in this economy, losing your fucking job, she has to spend the next 6 months sending out 6,000 applications to random fucking minimum wage jobs because she posted something on social media. Yeah, you're a bad person for doing that.
Okay, so
Nice.
if I may translate a little bit between the two of you, right, is that yes, no one thinks that these jokes are okay or we're okay to make. Well, I won't say no one. None of us thinks those jokes.
I think they're okay.
Right.
I don't have sympathy for the jokes, we'll say.
But what we don't think is a appropriate consequence is to get fired over a joke online. It's just not. It's just not. Like, call them out, call them a little shitter if you want, but calling that extra step of calling their employer is where things turn from okay to not okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm going to point out that this isn't what I'm stating isn't my personal opinion on how things should go. I'm just explaining the actual community overall reaction to what is going on.
Okay, so JC,
I don't have a moral position on this because I'm not the one perpetrating what they're doing.
Okay, fair enough. I would like to know your moral position, but fair enough.
You don't want to.
JC, you were talking shit in chat. Talk your shit.
Me?
Why are we being soy? Why are we soy? Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, this fence-sitting centrist, both sides are as bad bullshit I'm really getting sick of hearing it, and I'm kind of, I don't know, embarrassed to hear it from you.
So you're a Dev fan? Or where?
What?
Were you a Short Fat Otaku fan at one point?
No.
Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
No, he made fun of me once on Twitter, if that counts. But
No, everyone. No, making fun of people on Twitter does not count. But here's the deal, right? What have I said that was fence sitter disgusting centrism?
I don't like the idea that the left is to be held accountable for engaging in the same tactics as the right, when the motivations, intentions, and final goals are completely different, and one is clearly more virtuous than the other.
basically an ends justify the means argument is what you're making. Like, it's okay when we use these these means to do it, because when we use these means, our end is pure, noble, and good. So the means are okay. But when they use the same means, right, their end is bad, and so their means are bad. And I reject that. And I'll tell you why. I think that doing a thing, right, engaging in an action, a certain action, is bad no matter the end. So that's not always true, but in most cases, like lying, let's say, is bad morally. It's also bad strategically. So as a general rule, and I know exceptions exist, like would you lie about Jews being in your basement if the Nazis came? Like, yes, I would lie in that case, but then there's a greater thing we're trying to do. We're trying to protect people, right? But in most cases, that's not the situation we find ourselves in. So when we lie and we make things up in order to get at the other side, we're doing two things. One, we've hurt ourselves morally. I think lies lessen us as people. And I know that's a little woo-woo for you guys, but on a more strategic note, it makes people less likely to trust us in the future if it is discovered that we have lied. Because if we were willing to lie once, we're willing to lie. So regardless of who's lying, whether that be the left or the right, when I see you lying, I'm going to say, hey, that's wrong. You should not do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, which side do you think lies more often?
Man, depends on what subject. I think that
I don't think it does.
really, look,
Yeah,
I'm
really.
not gonna sit here and pretend to have measured this, right? I don't have a scorecard for you. I vote Democrat because I think the right does lie more. But when it comes to just the normies, right, the people, I think that neither side has a monopoly on lying. I think everybody, to a certain extent, does it in the political vacuum, and it's a problem. So whether or not the Republicans lie 10 times to every 2 times that the Democrats do, it's still wrong when the Democrats lie, even if the Republicans do it more. It's still wrong.
Yeah, I reject that completely out of hand.
Which of these two sides is trustworthy?
Mhm.
I don't think it's actually about whether or not.
I'm
who
sorry,
lies more.
the GOP, the right in general, is supposed to be trustworthy. When?
When did I say that they were trustworthy? They lied to me.
Why would you trust either one?
$1 billion in 2003 over fake WMD concerns.
I don't trust either one.
Good.
But I find that when I go to verify claims made by Democrat politicians, for example, versus claims made by Republican politicians, it seems that the Democratic claims have a lot more factual basis behind them.
Look, that's why I'm voting Democrat. That's one of the, well, not the only reason, but one of the reasons I'm voting Democrat. That's fine. We don't disagree. But the problem I'm having with your take here, JC, is that when I call out the left for doing something that I feel is wrong, that you're like, you're both siding it. You're both siding it. No.
Yeah, I can explain why using the lying example, actually, based on your response. So, like, it seems clear from what you told me that you consider lying to be an immoral action. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, immoral and pragmatically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I disagree with the notion that the commission of one immoral action and the commission of 10 immoral acts, so long as it's the same act, I don't think those are equivalent. You yourself admitted to me that the reason that you vote Democrat is because you do think that the Republicans tend to lie more. So it's interesting to me that you would wrap it all around to, well, everybody lies. I think there is something significant to the fact that the Republicans do it way more often.
So I have a question here.
To be clear.
It would
sure,
if
Republican
the left,
politicians.
So I have a question for JC. If the left knew that a lie would actually propagate a vastly better outcome, and there would be no political downsides to doing it, would that be acceptable?
I can't speak to the left.
Would you? Would you lie? You can.
Yeah,
you can lie, and you can make double your income. You tell a lie.
No, and no negative impact.
I don't make very much right now. I think it would depend on how much I was making initially. I don't make very much right now, so like doubling my income is a significant increase in money. But if I made like $1 million a year versus 2 million, I don't think that's.
So let's take it this way. Say you had a preferred political candidate running for, let's see, once again in the primary and to become president, and you knew that in the future he would do stuff that is far better than the GOP, and that the outcomes would be better, 100% guaranteed. Would you be okay with them lying to get into the primary and then be elected?
No, because I think that the harm that they would do by lying would damage their platform like far more than it would just trying to win like in an honest manner. But like that also speaks to what I'm saying, which is that I think that the Republicans should be held to more scrutiny and should be held with more suspicion because their politicians constantly lie.
Okay, because I'm just going to point out that it's actually known fairly well. You can look it up, but Obama's campaign forged signatures and made up people to get into the primaries to be able to win.
I think I was 8 during the first Obama election.
I'm just saying is
that's the.
I'm just using an actual real world example of something.
And I even hold on. I even condemned that. What's the point of even invoking that? I condemned it. I said I wouldn't do that. I would not let them to do that.
Your caveat was that it would degrade the platform or damage the platform. That was your caveat.
I said I thought it would. I think that it damages if you can't look at I think it's important. There is a nebulous quality that I refer to a lot. Sorry for the paint on my hands. I was doing Warhammer.
Nice.
The presidential character. I think there are qualities that a candidate should embody that exhibit like what we as the American people want to see out of our president that we all pretty much can commonly agree on. They should probably be pretty well spoken. They should probably know how to communicate the ideas and policies that they're working on in an effective manner that people can digest. And you should probably be able to look at them and believe that they're being honest with you. And I think that if you lie to get into office and then it comes out that you lied, then you do irreparable damage to that perception of honesty, which is part of that like key presidential character I think is like necessary in a good presidential candidate.
Yeah, but the issue is that the Americans fundamentally don't trust politicians and believe that they lie most of the time. That is
sure. So are you? I mean,
we're getting off the track. We're getting off the track.
The issue being is that there is no. Other than playing flag football and being on a team, there is no actual difference between your statement and how the opposite side would view you.
So here's my
but I view the opposite side.
I have a different issue than Artemis does here, obviously, right? So my issue when people call me out for both sidesism, right? It's this idea, right? The same idea that when people say you shouldn't punch left, right? You shouldn't be punching left. You should never criticize your side because you're giving ammo to the other side, or you're running cover for the other side by pretending that both sides do it to the same degree. They don't do it to the same degree. I understand politicians when it comes to time for who to vote for, don't do it to the same degree. But I gotta tell you, I see a lot of leftists. I see a lot of people on the left who are willing to excuse bad actions, who are willing to engage in bad actions. I'm not saying you. I'm saying there are people that I see a lot on the left who will do this, right? Who will be like, you know what? We shouldn't ever scrutinize our side. And I reject that. The reason I think that we should scrutinize the sides the same, the right and the left should be scrutinized to the exact same amount, is because when you scrutinize them on a level field, it is clear that the right does worse at these things. But when you try to put your thumb on the scale, when you get rid of that neutrality, when you get rid of that like baseline, what you're doing is you're throwing the whole thing off. And the right can look at you and say with all accuracy that you aren't being fair. So I think it's important to be fair. And when the right does something good, I praise it. When the right does something bad, I condemn it. When the left does something good, I praise it. When the left does something bad, I condemn it. And I think that's how everyone should act and everyone should do. What you shouldn't do is check to see if they have a D or an R next to their name before you condemn their action. This shooter, and I'll finish and then I'll let you go after I read the super chat.
Okay.
Like this shooter, I don't care what his political... A lot of people are like, well, was he a Democrat? Was he Republican? It doesn't matter. at the end of the day, my condemnation for him is the same, whether he has a D next to his name or an R next to his name. He engaged in political violence, and that is wrong. And it's really that simple. $5 from the Faith says, I'm just waiting for the truckers to stop. Watch the malding when the cities start shutting down and flipping positions. Well, thank you for the $5. Why would the truckers stop? But oh, you're Canadian. That's why. Canadian thing. Okay, never mind. Okay, now you can respond, please.
Okay, so I do scrutinize both sides. I want to make that super clear. But you yourself said in your response that when you scrutinize both sides on an even playing field, it's very clear that the right is worse. So my issue is that I think that the majority of people in America aren't as politically engaged as the people in this room, even like close to the majority of people. So I think it is important to take a position and say, okay, I have done the evaluation. I can talk you through it if you need, but clearly one of these is where I don't think that every single U.S. citizen should be. I would like it, but I don't think they should all be expected to do the same level of research that you or I or Destiny or anybody else.
Right now?
I don't know.
I
closed
JD
it out when
Vance,
I joined. Sorry.
The worst presidential
BP,
pick or YP.
Oh, see, I don't even agree with that.
Right? There is like this idea that I'm not that I don't have a side is wild to me. So
I was gonna say it's specifically the words that you use when you say, so the right certainly lies a lot, but the left lies as well. I think that people have a tendency to focus more on the second part of that, and then in their minds they will hear, okay, so both lie, so they're both basically the same, which you and I have already agreed multiple times is not the case. That's what I'm taking issue with.
I can only say what's true. I don't know if people will take that badly or not. That's a them problem. I want to hear
also
from
the wrong interpretation.
Go ahead, Rube.
It's just completely the wrong interpretation. The reason the second part of that sentence matters is because I do not have a trustworthy alternative to these people who lie a lot. I have people who lie less, but the problem is I have this threshold for trustworthiness that encourages me to go, or motivates me to go out and vote. Yeah. And given that I have two options, neither of which are trustworthy, I'm not going to choose either of them. I'm going to stay at home. Because the question isn't whether or not you can, it's not a football game where you can tally up how many times this side lied versus this side. Question is, can I trust these people? Trump, I've never voted before. I was on the fence as to whether or not I was going to vote in this election. Something that probably killed my vote for any chance of a hope for voting for the Republican Party was Trump came out the other day and said that he would extend federal immunity to police officers. And I said, nope. I don't need to live in a country like that. I don't want to live in a country like that.
Yeah, that was weird.
There's no reason for me to trust anybody who does that. Bro, your Secret Service just like shit the bed in the worst possible way imaginable.
I didn't appoint.
You're going to give them immunity? You're going to give a donut cop immunity? That's the best you got. And you're going to give those guys nearly watched your head blow up on live TV. And you're going to give the donut cop immunity. You're going to give Daniel Shaver federal immunity? Dude, what?
My question
I don't trust you anymore.
My question to you, Rube, and here's where I'm going to push back against you. I am of the opinion that if you don't vote, and you said you've never voted, have you voted down ballot? You don't have to say if you don't want to, right?
No, I've never voted before.
Okay. Then honestly, no one should listen to your opinions because you don't matter. And I'll tell you why.
Right? How many people vote in the previous elections?
Oh, what's the last election? I think Biden got 81, Trump got 74, so about 150-ish.
All right.
That's
and
half the country.
How many counties were decided by under 100,000 votes?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Or how many states were decided by under 100,000 votes?
Georgia was.
Georgia was earlier this stream.
Georgia was.
What is in it for me?
What is in it for you?
Do I get a job? Do I get a livable wage? Do I get to exist in the country without fear that my life can at any moment in the next 2 months... Is this what you think is
coming from a presidential election?
Hold on, stop. I'm going to answer your question. People will actually listen to your concerns when you vote. because that's how they make their opinions, and that's how they make their policies. Politicians want to be reelected, so they will listen to the people who actually vote, who demonstrate that they vote by voting before. So once you get that going, your voice matters in a way that others do not. And why would you? It's the tyranny of the present, I think, as they call it in the volunteer world, right? The people who show up make the rules. The people who actually cast their vote make the rules, right? So regardless of who you vote for, even if it's just down ballot stuff and you leave one blank or something, right? The fact that you are now not just a registered voter, but a likely voter turns the weight of your opinions up by a mile. And this matters especially at the local level.
I find myself swayed.
And there you go.
I need to throw vote for every election until I get what I want. And
Yes!
everybody
I saw that coming, by the way. I predicted that. The issue is that it doesn't work on the Democratic side. Progressives have never swung anything good out of their vote.
Progressives are like, there's 10 of them, okay?
Yeah, what was that switch? Progressives aren't, like, Democrats aren't all progressives.
The issue is that the progressives don't go into the Republican Party, now do they?
Well,
and the intrusion of progressive politics often changes how many like regular Democrats actually come out and vote.
Yeah. So the issue is that the progressive showing up to vote actually affects negatively the Democratic win rate.
No, I didn't say that.
Wait, what?
It does.
I didn't say that.
Are you saying if they vote for a Democrat or if they vote for like I don't know?
No. If progressives are I don't think Cornel West is really a factor other than he's stripping votes away from.
Well, no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying that they're helping Democrats lose, like when they vote for those third party like candidates.
That is true. I was more saying that I was gonna say more that when progressives come out in full force. And they do like the Bernie Bro movement where they say "fuck it, let's ball," and then they throw the election. That a lot of these things have happened. Yeah, but that's a lot. That's
criticisms of the left.
Yeah, that's what usually happens. Is pettiness votes.
Hold on, Bernie Bros. Yeah, there were some progressives in there, but look, the reason the Bernie thing in 2016 at least was a factor is because there's a sizable overlap between Trump voters and Bernie voters. There's that Venn diagram. There's a big overlap in these because much like Trump was back in 2016, Bernie was an anti-establishment candidate, and
he was a populist. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that regardless of progressive or not progressive or conservative or what, there are a lot of people who are frustrated with the system, who don't believe that the system works anymore. And so, as Michael Moore put it, Trump was a firebomb thrown into the system. He was designed to destroy it, right? And that was the thing that they wanted. A lot of those people saw Bernie in the same light. They saw him as a monkey wrench into the system that would change it because the system, they had felt betrayed by the Bush years, right? And the Obama years both. The Bush years, they didn't like going into the foreign wars. In the Obama years, they felt that the bank bailouts and stuff did them dirty. They felt passed over in these things, and it was a problem. And so the whole establishment, they wanted to burn it down. And that's why one of the major reasons why Trump was able to succeed over Clinton and why Bernie gave Clinton such a run for her money back in the day. But yeah.
So I got a question for you.
Go ahead. And I want to hear
what feeling has changed since then? Has anything gotten better for the American people since the Capitol, like Wall Street, fucked them over?
Are we calling in? It's calling in. Fairy Queen, jump in. But yeah, jump backstage. I'll pull you in. What has gotten better? I think.
Yeah. What has gotten better? What has tangibly changed since that to have alleviated that feeling?
We're out of the foreign wars when it comes to Afghanistan. We've pulled that out, right? We've gotten out of that. We're no longer in Iraq as well. We've toned that down. I think that
we're still there.
We're still
from experience. We're still there
in Afghanistan. Okay, you understand how whatever presence we may have in Afghanistan right now is fundamentally different than what we had back in.
The how much are we spending on it right now? I don't care about how many people are there. Are you taking another $20 trillion from me?
Yeah, but that's
the problem.
It's the shell game.
You don't vote like 3 people are over there.
Yeah, hold on. But here's the issue: is the government has played the shell game, where now it's massive amount of funding is going to Ukraine, and now we have 2 aircraft carriers off the coast of Israel. Like the wars are still going. It's just that we transfer them to proxy wars now.
I think the people care about boots on the ground more so than they do. They do still care about like funding, as Rube said, right? But I think people fundamentally view boots on the ground differently. But I wanna give some space to Gibbs,
Yep.
and I want to give some space to Fairy Queen, who both have said that they wanted to say something. So Gibbs, go ahead, then Fairy Queen.
Yeah, I don't know who just said that, but they asked in the last 4 years, have like do the American people feel like things are better? And the answer is absolutely not. I just went and did a grocery order for HEB, which is Texas' better equivalent of Walmart, and I like took last year's, or last like week's thing, and I went and found another year's that was similar, and it was like $76 versus like $3.30 today. I think that the American people are sick of getting lied to, and I feel like this has been a bait and switch with the Kamala thing. It's been a bait and switch this whole time, and I think with the economy, they're saying, "Oh, look at all the jobs. Everybody works 3 jobs." Y'all talk about the foreign wars. Oh, now we're involved in wars all over the Middle East by proxy. Like it's just ridiculous. It's just lies. We've literally, people have been sold the idea that the Biden administration is successful when in reality it's the worst administration since Herbert Hoover. That's what I think has been happening.
Okay, Fairy Queen, what do you got for us?
Hi.
Nice
So I'm
food.
afraid I did not come in guns blazing here to talk about JD Vance or the election. I came in here to talk about this adorable fish recipe I found off of the internet. And it's
Oh, God.
delicious, okay? And I have to tell you about it, okay? And
We need
I'm
this.
sorry I seem to have infiltrated, the
German
war.
Shepherd.
No,
Like, what's
this
that
is a
thing
good
we
segue. Give us what
Okay.
you got.
Gibbs and I will
I
yell
want to
after.
hear the recipe.
And I want
Okay.
you to know that a lot of what I'm about to show you came directly from the garden outside. We have these chives that was growing from a brick. We had this fresh tarragon. It's been growing like a weed all summer, I swear. But I picked all of it. I chopped it up. I put it in the food processor. This is the recipe, okay? Remember the recipe, okay? I put in it's not actually a teaspoon. It's like a handful of tarragon, some fresh chives, okay, about 1/4 of a cup of sour cream, some white wine, okay. You put in a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, okay. You put in some of that wonderful, the paste, okay, at Walmart, okay, like the garlic paste and the basil paste. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
Not like
Mm-hmm.
somebody knows what I'm talking about, okay.
I know.
You
Yeah,
get
I know about the
herbs.
pastes.
Yeah, it's a paste. It's not like a
When you
chopped
said
up
paste,
herbs.
I thought about
It's
like
not literally
glue,
pesto, right?
right?
It's like something else.
Take an
Yeah,
Elmer's
you can
bottle
get-
of glue.
Well, you can get that for garlic, and I did, and so I threw it in here just And
Show
so I
us.
did.
You keep
And
talking.
I'm trying to explain so you know what the recipe
Okay,
is. Okay,
show us.
So you throw this all into the food processor, you mix it together, and then once you do, okay, then you put some butter in a pan. Everything tastes better with butter. Okay, Julia Child, inspiration. Okay, she was right. You will get fat from it, okay? But that's okay because you'll be happy every step of the way when you're eating, okay? So you put in some butter, you put in a little bit of garlic, you cook in there, and then you have this. Look at this. Fresh from
That
the
looks
garden.
It does look good.
It's herbs. Tastes so, oh my goodness. It tastes so good. I thought I was going to need, originally, some of this adorable lemon to
You
go
know
with
where
it.
that didn't come from, Artemis? That didn't come from Xi Jinping. That didn't come from China. It wasn't
Yeah.
Chinese food. This is
All American.
American grown, homemade,
Doesn't look like a hamburger. to me.
patriotic,
Boo.
U.S. soil
Salmon,
food.
You
Okay.
need
If
to
I
be-
asked you where chives come from, would you know where they originated?
No, I'm not
I
a
do know. This
cooker.
came from the brick outside, okay? And they
Okay.
were delicious, okay? Also,
Okay.
just one more thing to know. This is a favorite snack of mine, okay? I eat it. I eat so much of it. It's ridiculous, guys. So it's very easy, simple snack. You get some nice toasted bread, okay? You toast the bread. Then you make some bruschetta. And what is bruschetta for those of you who don't know? So this is what bruschetta is, okay? So it's tomato, chopped up basil, okay? A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of garlic, a little smidge of garlic, not too much. Pepper, salt, some balsamic vinaigrette, and then you put it on the bread, and it tastes so good, okay? It's like an artisanal pizza. I'm in love with this, okay?
It sounds like the
I
shitty
will
version of Pico de Gallo. That's what it sounds like.
It's so good.
That
I
sounds
love it.
awful.
Oh.
Okay. So I am eating that, drinking this glass of wine. I feel very fancy, very, very fancy.
Well,
And I think later I will be making dessert. I haven't decided what, but from the garden outside, okay, we picked some blackberries, 2 of them. I know it's not very much, but we have some blueberries, some strawberries that are in the fridge, okay? I'm going to make, I think, maybe a crumble with some little, vanilla ice cream to go with it, okay? I've got a lot of ideas, still coming up with suggestions. Chat, if you should decide what I'm going to make for dessert, okay? This is
going
just
on?
fabulous. Love
I'm
it.
gonna dream about this while I make some chicken tenders tonight. I'm gonna be like,
So-
man, that'd be
So we
great.
had tarragon, chives, lemon, salt, pepper,
Yes.
sour cream,
Yes. And
and
wine.
wine. Yeah, white wine. Yeah.
Yes. And what you do after
Yeah, I listen, Wick. I listen to women.
do
Yeah.
you,
exactly.
okay, well, let me ask you this, Fairy Queen, since you're here, right?
Okay.
JD Vance's comments on crazy cat ladies.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So here are my thoughts, okay? So my thoughts are, first of all, obviously it's sexist. What can you expect, right? Like he is like the VP for like the Trump campaign. It's not entirely surprising. But I also think something else about Vance. I hear a lot of people bagging on Vance as like a potential pick, and I understand a lot of the criticisms. But to be honest, I haven't read Hillbilly Elegy, okay? I've not read the book, okay? So for those of you who have read it, you're more well informed, okay? But my understanding is that like there's a lot of misinformation about the book being spread around, specifically the couch meme that apparently is going wild across the internet. Apparently that was misquoted, which is a
Ben's got
hilarious
memes.
misquotation. But
So just to be clear, the sofa seducer allegations have been fact checked by Fairy Queen to be false. He did
Another
not
Democrat
put
lie.
his penis between those cushions. He did not. He did not.
Who can you trust
Okay.
these days?
my understanding is that that's an exaggeration or like somebody
Like, oh, it's an exaggeration. How far? Was it a little exaggeration, or did he just a tip?
They didn't make it between the.
Listen, I'm about to eat dinner, my very fancy dinner. Okay,
I know. That's why I'm saying this.
I don't want to think about Vance's penis or any sofa. Okay, that can be a conversation you all have.
What about couches?
Oh, please.
What about casting couches?
Not in.
I
This
think we could all
context,
agree that
okay?
if he did do it, we wouldn't really judge him for it. Like we all understand.
I've
that's
never
fine.
fucked a couch.
Wow, I was gonna say that sounds like the excuse of someone who's fucked a couch.
I've
So
never,
here's
I'm just not
Coming
judging
clean
him
now.
for it.
I've never
think there's a
thought about
famous-
Let's see
fucking
what
a
I'm
couch.
going to do in the future.
I think there's a famous.
I got some questions.
Really, you're
I don't
interested?
I feel like
I don't want
anytime
any answers though for this.
Okay. It reminds me of the famous quote. I think it's from Woodrow Wilson when he accused his political opponent of having relationships with a pig. Is that he knows they're false? He just wants to hear the bastard deny it publicly.
I think
That's-
that's
I
funny.
think that's what's going on.
But here, look,
Yeah.
and
And I think that that's honestly like speaks to a lot of the other stuff that he's saying, because like I've heard the cat lady comment, I've heard a lot of comments that he's made. And he is a conservative, right? So he's not going to be like an uber.
It's
feminist,
not.
but,
It's
like,
oh my god! This is
but,
what's so
like,
infuriating
no,
about like
but,
this
like-
conversation. Y'all call him a conservative. Trump is a New York Republican. That guy's that's
Democrat?
basically a Democrat. That's a
Voted
Democrat.
Democrat for many years. Yeah.
we got Vance, who's another populist, not a conservative. These are moderates. This is what the moderates look like, right? This is like earlier when we were talking about Piers Morgan. I had to go fact check. Piers Morgan is a center left guy, right? Trump is basically right there. Trump's a moderate, center left almost, really not a Republican. JD Vance, same thing. He might have a few right leaning issues, but then he says some wild shit that's super lefty. Like, there's just crazy stuff in here. So I hate when y'all
what
sit here
has
trying to lump
Vance
these
said that is
Hello.
super lefty?
Oh yeah, the taxes.
he's
on
pro-union.
single people. Yeah, he's
He's
pro-union.
really
He wants
pro-union.
taxes on single people. All sorts of shit.
Medical
I don't know if
coverage.
taxes on single people are necessarily lefty. That
That's
seems
definitely
like
lefty. It's a lefty.
okay, but where
he's
is
in
that
favor-
coming from? What is his motivation for doing that?
It doesn't
Why is
matter.
the
It's
mo-
lefty.
why is the
If you want to
motivation
pay
there?
taxes on single people, you're lefty.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really
Okay.
agree with that. But he also is in favor of increasing healthcare to people.
No,
That's
he's
lefty.
voted for slashing Medicare. He's voted for slashing.
Well, that's 'cause
Social
it's dog shit.
Security. He's also voted for slashing SNAP. Right now, we talked about this at the beginning of the show, right? Like he's voted against funding SNAP, which is a substantive nutritional, supplemental nutritional something program, right?
Access program, maybe?
Access.
Yeah, it's an access program. But I believe that the SNAP program, EBT, stuff like that has caused more damage to families than helping them. It has created a system of dependence.
How so?
No, no, we're gonna
Well, we can go look about where and when it was introduced and what the ramifications are.
look.
All you have to do is say that people are getting really fat. That's all you have to. Poor people are really
Well, that's fair.
fat.
If
You
SNAP
can just start off with that. You don't need to go
That's
into
got nothing
like
to do with food deserts or nutritional values of commonly produced food or the cheapest available food. It's got nothing to do with
that's
any
only
of that. It's
that only
because of
accounts
SNAP.
for that's only
yeah,
accounts
because
for
that has a
recent-
significant
Got it. Yep.
overlap with
Hold
EBT.
Hold on, that only accounts for recent ventures where like large corporations have bought up most of the mom and pop shops around. Like we're talking about like in the 60s and 70s where
The 60s
all
and
this-
70s people were fat on the SNAP program. How old is the SNAP program?
No. Well, it's really old. It's the single mother.
Snap is pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty old. The issue is that the SNAP program.
What happened in the '60s? I care about fat people now.
Well,
Yeah, fat
there
people are
wasn't
fat
nearly.
now.
People weren't nearly as
That's
fat
the
back
problem
then.
with that.
Hold on.
There's no really. God damn
I mean,
it.
it should be cut. They should just be getting rice and
What are
beans.
you guys?
That's all they should be
What are
getting
you
on
guys
SNAP. Like,
talking? Hold on, stop. What are we talking about? The poorest people I know aren't fat. They're people like my uncle, who, again, one of the people who this kind of stuff is for. He's skinnier than me. Okay, right? It's because he doesn't have a lot. Now, again,
He's also 70 years old.
oh no, different.
A little bit-
I have
that's
two
true.
uncles.
Okay.
I have
fine.
two.
Oh shit!
One is
Food stamps
one
are
is
really
only 10
old,
more
damn.
years older
Yeah.
than me.
Like
But,
I think after the Roaring 20s, like in the 30s and 40s, I
Yeah,
think.
the snap was.
Was this an FDR thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, dude was based. Okay,
But
that makes
regardless,
sense.
like the idea that people are getting fat because of EBT is just non-substantiated. It's just not true.
Well, it
People are getting
depends
fat
on what
for a lot of
EBT.
reasons: lack of exercise, the fact that we have access to all sorts of high-calorie food, and that no one exercises anymore hardly. These are all big issues, right? Also, the fact that if you grow up in a family that has poor diet, you are far more likely to have poor diet, right? It's just true. Rich people.
All right, Gibbs just won.
Why?
Oh, the
because of the
Garfield. It's
cat.
Garfield.
Right, okay.
Garfield? Does he eat lasagna?
He doesn't, unfortunately. The other cat does.
He's a lie.
Looks like he does. Damn.
Well, maybe you
Looks
should
like
get
my fat cat.
some snap for the cat so he can have.
Yeah,
some
I mean,
fun.
if we could, we'd put him on.
No,
some
that'll
snap
make
and
him
get his ass skinny.
fatter.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Gang. It's almost 8 o'clock.
No, you've already eaten. You can keep going.
Well, I will if you guys start donating more money to me, right?
How much?
$50, and I'll keep going for another hour.
Okay.
Right,
well, that's-
somebody needs to
Next week, man.
put like a new thing to argue about inside the chat, especially if you could relate it to
Well,
JD
no, there's
Vance
a
or
a lot
the
of
left.
things to argue about. So I know
What
that.
do you want to argue about?
Well,
I'm gonna point out to you that Democrats can be bought with money. You just saw it right here.
True.
Live.
I specifically can be bought with money, and once you give me that $50, we'll keep going.
It's not like a condemnation.
my word-
order, Miss
my-
Fell.
my-
I'll make stupid decisions for no money whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'll give
I
up.
mean-
I'll attack my political opponents for no reason, for no benefit. I'll give up the election for a song.
Nice.
One fired grandma at Home Depot is enough to cost me the election.
Well, you're not voting, so you don't literally do not matter.
Oh,
Your
you
opinion
convinced
does
me
not matter.
earlier.
Okay, so you're
Got
gonna
him.
vote this election.
I don't know for who yet, but yeah.
Okay,
No, it's if
gang, that's
he
a
keeps
step.
pushing you,
No.
just vote against him.
I'm going to hold you to this because one of the things that I want to do, and in all seriousness, is I want to make sure that people understand that your vote is your voice in a very real way.
I'll vote twice.
Don't do that.
I'm in
Hey,
Texas.
last time there were people throwing those words around. There was like some shit at the Capitol. Okay, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care about that shit.
What?
Go have a good
Nobody,
time.
nobody does.
Thank you for
I
the
hope the
$2.
I
Go
hope the
have a
Secret
good time.
Service keeps
Okay.
doing a
Stand
great
6.
job.
Go have a good time,
your-
guys. Be home by 9.
Gibbs said a few things. I'm just curious from Fairy Queen's perspective because Fairy Queen, you weren't going to vote for Biden, right? For various reasons. What are your issues that you feel are the most important to you this election cycle?
To me
Personally, yes, to you personally. What are the top 3, let's say, issues that you say, okay, these are the important things. These are what I care about. These are what I want people to win me over about. Go ahead.
I guess for me, the top 3 for me would be abortion, trans issues, and foreign policy. Those are the top 3 for me.
Those are very
in which
broad.
direction?
Yeah, those are broad.
So,
That'd be the
so for me, like I want for me, like as far as foreign policy goes, like I want like the person who is the most pro-Palestine and who is the most pro-Ukraine. So like you can make of that what you will. And I deliberately don't involve myself with those arguments because I'm not well educated. I'm not the best person like to have those.
Pro-Palestine, pro-Ukraine. Gotcha.
Yep, that's the first thing. The second thing is I want whoever is in office to protect, women's right to choose, women's right to have an abortion, women's right to have access to an abortion. I think that's something that is scarily I'm concerned about that, and women's abilities to have access to birth control. 3, regarding trans issues. This is the most conservative part of it. Okay. I am concerned. I think I've already discussed this, it's what I'm about to say is not a surprise. Okay. We've had a lot of things that have happened this year. There was the rewriting of Title IX under Biden, which I'm not happy about. There's the Cass review that came out in the United Kingdom earlier this year. And so a lot of what we used to believe about puberty blockers and about HRT specifically for minors has turned out to either the studies that have often been touted and have often been used have turned out to either have not had great methodology and are not highly replicable. And so I am very critical of a lot of things under trans issues. A lot of people have called me a TERF for that. And so for me, when I am looking specifically who to choose as a candidate, I feel really torn because you're not going to get everything you want. It's sort of a pick and choose. And it really and for me, it boils down to deciding, what do I think is the bigger threat? What do I think is most likely to happen, and who is going to be the best person to be elected into office? Okay. So
I'm curious.
And I honestly don't know the answer, but that's my
that's fair. That's a good honesty, and honestly letting us know and letting everyone know, hey, these are the issues that are important to me, and these are why, allows a discussion to be had. So I know Artemis has some opinions on what the different candidates offer when it comes to these. So, and I know Gibbs does too. So Artemis and Gibbs, I'm going to give you some time before I take my turn, right? I'm going to give you some time to sell Fairy Queen on the...
I'll let Gibbs go.
Yeah, perfect, because I got a limited amount of time. Thank you, Artemis. I'll go first. One, I feel like generally, I don't know if I'm going to sell this, but people don't vote as much on foreign policy traditionally as they do on domestic policy.
But you're selling your candidates to Fairy Queen.
Sure. I will sell this, right? I'm not the biggest Trump guy. I don't like some of his foreign policy. I wish he'd support Ukraine more personally. However, time in the last several presidents, nobody invaded while Trump was president. Russia didn't invade Ukraine while Trump was president. They backed off. He got us out of Iraq, basically. He handled the war in Syria pretty easily, with a limited amount of troops. I'd say that was very successful, picking up from where Obama left off. He came in to take care of it. He turned General Salami into salami. Big fan of that. And let Iran know not to fuck with us. I think these are all good things. Kept that on the loose. Also, on a side note, I hope whoever is the president backs Israel and lets them turn Hezzbollah into a parking lot. Big fan of that. On the trans issues, Trump has always been pro LGBTQ. This recent thing where the left has been trying to spin it to where he's not is bullshit. He's been well documented, hey, let this be states' rights issues on marriage and abortion and all these things. He's real big on letting the states do it, and he doesn't want a federal thing. He even pushed a much more moderate public agenda for the Republicans within the convention recently, as reported by mainstream news like MSNBC and CNN. I don't think that he's really pushing all that. Like I said, he's really a moderate. He's really, in all intents and purposes, he's Bill Clinton reborn in the modern era. That's what he is. He's not fucking George Bush coming back. It's just, I don't know. I think that it's really funny that these people keep pushing that he's this super ultra conservative that's coming for everything just because he wants a secure border, and wants a strong military that he doesn't have to use all the time. I don't know. other than that. I mean, these are kind of no-brainers. I mean, why don't you want a secure border unless you're up to something nefarious? And why wouldn't you want a strong military so when people come over here, don't fuck with us? Like, keeps everybody in check. Also, he's got the wild card thing, and I think that's a good
The
thing for the
wild
president.
card thing?
Yeah, wild card thing. Like they Putin's over here like,
Madman.
I don't
Oh.
know if I want to go mess with Trump. He might
That is
go
such a
wild.
nerd shit.
I'm just saying, he had North Korea in check. He had him whipped like a dog after
Did
we didn't
he?
talk to him. Yeah, he gave him the hands. They weren't,
Okay.
that was the only time they didn't protest
Finish up.
militarily
Oh, my
with when we were in when we did the overseas drills over there with South Korea. Only time they didn't protest and fire shells towards us in the last 10 years was while Trump was there. Just saying, no big deal. He had him whipped like a schoolgirl. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So you want me to go ahead and do a quick rundown of what I was thinking?
Briefly, because I want my turn to respond.
Okay. Well, you said both
So
me
I have
and
to go, Wick. Thanks for having me, by the way. I
Gibbs,
appreciate it.
always a
Yep.
pleasure.
All right.
I have
So
to go as well. Thanks for the chat,
Bye,
lovely
Jason.
people.
Yep. So
Hi, I love you, Wick. Don't fence it.
So the big thing with the Trump is that when it comes to the Middle East, you need to go ahead and just write that off. No politician is going to care what Israel really does, other than some half-hearted platitudes towards Palestine. There's nothing that can be done about that. That thing has been warring for hundreds of years, and it's not going to calm down anytime soon. But when it comes to Trump and his foreign policy in terms of Ukraine and it comes in terms of North Korea, Trump walked into the DMZ without his Secret Service escort. That was probably one of the most ballsiest thing a president has done in the last century. Oh, hold on, that's a alarm. Anyways, and so that was an interesting thing. As soon as Trump got out of office, I mean, relatively quickly, Kim Jong-un blew up, I think, one of the embassy buildings across the DMZ with artillery fire, if I remember that correctly. So Biden administration, Kamala, in tandem, don't really show any type of strength on the world stage. Nobody cares what they think. They just do their own thing. Trump did notoriously threaten Putin that he'd nuke Moscow if he tried to invade Ukraine. I mean, I think everybody has reported that was a conversation that has been had. Now, they haven't shown any proof of it, but nobody really contests that took place. He's also one of the first people to give weapons to Ukraine instead of just humanitarian aid, to like the javelins and stuff like that. He's also stated that he will offer a peace deal if Russia doesn't take it. He'll flood Ukraine with the most amount of arms the world has ever seen to help fight Russia. So there's that negotiating. And in terms of his policy towards women's rights and stuff like that, everything that Trump has done has been to sort of spite the evangelicals in terms of abortion and stuff like that. He doesn't really promote a total ban on abortion. He's said it several times that he supports abortion for certain things, and that for other things, the states get to just decide how they run it, which is probably one of the better ways to deal with it. And he's also said that he would veto any abortion ban bills that come up in his presidency. And as far as I know, Trump is always the madman to carry out what he says.
Well,
So-
I'm sorry, I hate to stop you there, but he said that because I will be honest with you. Like I've spoken to other people who lean more left about this, and what they usually say, they say something to the effect of, "Well, I agree. I don't think that Trump is a terribly conservative person. I don't think he necessarily individually cares about abortion. But were this to be proposed in Congress, were there to be a bill passed in Congress that proposes an abortion, would he go against his party, right?
Yes.
And veto it. That's
because it's a cult of personality, and the party is Trump's party, and whatever happens after he's gone is whatever. But what he says goes. Hold on, before you say Wick. During the first presidential debate with Biden, he specifically stated that he would veto an abortion ban law that came through if it was passed by Congress.
Okay.
That was in the debate. So now you got it, Wick.
Okay, so here's my argument for why everything that Gibbs just said and everything that Artemis just said is just either misconstrued or wrong, and I'll demonstrate this. So let's start from the reverse, right? So when you said that, oh, I don't know if I can believe Trump, and then Artemis responded, oh, he's the guy. He's the one that they'll all listen to. I'll remind you of in 2017 when Trump called on Mitch McConnell to overturn the filibuster in order for him to be able to get his stuff through. Because if you remember back then, the Democrats were all about the filibuster. They were using it to block a lot of Trump's policies and a lot of Republican policies. Mitch McConnell told him to fuck off, and he did, right? So this idea that the party is just going to fall in line under Trump is one of those things that the lefties say a lot, but just doesn't happen to be true, right? So the idea that he will veto a national abortion ban might be true, but when we look at his running mate, Vance, and when we look at the people he's going to appoint as judges, when we look at the people from the Heritage Foundation, what he's going to appoint, they are absolutely going to try to limit the females' rights to reproductive rights to as much as they can. JD Vance opposes abortion even in the case of rape and incest. He's come out on record and said that. Yeah. This is a man that Trump chose as his running mate. This is something where if you care about female reproductive rights, the Republicans are just worse on this across the board. And again, I say this as someone who is soft pro-choice. And what I mean is I don't like the concept of abortion. I don't like it at all. I think it's gross. But I recognize that the government shouldn't have a say in what a woman does but with her medical decisions on these things. I don't think it's right to ban abortion in the case of rape or incest or things like that. We could have a talk about limiting it in other circumstances, right? But I think it's telling that Vance, again, is not shy about it. Those are his public stances. I'm not making this up. Let's talk about foreign policy, right? Once again, this idea that Ukraine was invaded under Biden and not under Trump is just also false. Russia has been at war with Ukraine since about 2014. They didn't invade, but they had been fucking around for quite a while. They annexed Crimea, right? Mm-hmm. They've been fucking around in there for quite a while. The reason that Trump had to send weapons to Ukraine was because they were fucking around, right? The little green men to the Donbass and all that, right? There'd been artillery shells, hot fighting for quite some time. So yes, the actual invasion happened in 2022, I believe, but this has been planned and run up to, again, for I would say a decade or more that this has been in the works. So the idea that the Trump prevented it, I just don't find that compelling. I don't think that's believable. When it comes to Palestine, yes, I think that both parties are going to support Israel. Yes, but how they support Israel does matter. We can look at Trump and the Abrahamic Accords, right? We can look at Trump moving the capital to Jerusalem, or the embassy, I should say, to Jerusalem and things like that. We can look at Trump and how he cut $200 million in funding to Gaza, right, for relief and other things. The Democrats are not perfect on this, but they're better when it comes to that specific concept. And we can, again, look at Ukraine, and we'll look at Mike Johnson and how he blocked access to funding for Ukraine for quite some time, as much as he could. And we could look at several people in that party who just don't want to fund Ukraine. And you can say, well, there's good reasons for that or not. That's beside the point. If Ukraine is important to you, I think the choice clearly is a Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris, right? And the last point, I'll just have to give it to you on the turf stuff. I'll just have to give that to you that, yeah, the Republicans are probably better on that. Not much I could say. But yeah, that's my thought.
I think that, I know that, listen, I've been in these panels before. I know that, a lot of, you guys, talk a lot about foreign policy, about the border, and fair enough, right? What I would present to you, though, is that, women across this country right now who are not liberal and who are not hyper conservative, but who do fall in more of a moderate centristy space, this question of balancing trans issues against the question of abortion is a question, I promise you, that I'm not going to be narcissistic enough to say that it's only me that has this question right now. I think that right now, the question that women are facing across the country is a bit of a loaded gun which reality, like which right do you want to sacrifice more? What's more likely to happen? What's more likely to wind up being bad for you in the long run? That's a difficult choice. That's not a choice. And, I would even put forward to you that that's a choice that we're having to make uniquely this time. That I don't think that American women have been asked to make like in a very long time. So I would suggest to those of you who are content creators and for those of you who are thinking about like encouraging like women to vote, to really consider these two issues in tandem, because I promise you that's what it's like for many women who are in my boat. It is a balancing scale of deciding like which is the worst reality. If you want your party to win, it probably would behoove you to explain why you think like to focus on that.
I would point out, and then I'll let you go, Artemis. I would point out only this, that we have seen demonstrable steps taken with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, with the Texas abortion law, and these things that I think are going to be more harmful now than the changes to Title IX. I don't like some of the changes to Title IX. I think we dislike different changes to that, to be clear, right? But I think that the Title IX changes, especially when it comes to the burden of proof when it comes to sexual assault allegations in colleges, I think that was poorly done. And I worry about the results of that. I think that when we look at harm done now, I think that abortion is it's a matter of urgency, right? Whereas the trans stuff, if you have issues with that, and I understand it, I disagree, but I understand. I think that is more of a long-term thing that can be fought over multiple cycles, whereas the abortion stuff is something that needs to be stood up to now, and that would be the argument I give. But Artemis, you can give your counter.
So Wick brought up the fact that Mitch McConnell back in 2017 this stonewalled Trump, and that Trump wasn't in control of the party, which is true. Trump was not. He was actually embroiled in a huge issue where half of the Republican Party thought he was a possible Russian operative. And that it took 2 years to get the Republican Party to come to terms with that they were lied to, and that he had to work to oust all of these neocons out of the party. And so that now that Trump has a firm grasp upon it today, where he clearly did not have it during 2017, 2018. I don't know why we brought up 2017 and 2018 as if it was any indicative of how the Republican Party is now. It's clearly night and day. They're far more willing to go along with what Trump wants, and they're far more willing to. It is clearly different. Kevin McCarthy was one of the old core, and he's ousted.
Okay, look at 2022, right? Look at the Trump candidates that lost the red wave. The red wave could have happened had they elected more moderate candidates, but they didn't.
No,
they elected more.
The red wave would not have happened because Roe v. Wade got overturned in the same year. That was going to always be a loss. They just got away with not as many losses in terms of seats.
I don't.
Yeah, you can disagree, but
I don't.
Roe v. Wade was a
factor, but I'm saying that when it comes to things like there were states that voted red, but also voted in down ballot to protect abortion rights in their states. I think Kansas was one of them.
Sure.
Ohio was one of them. Those are two I can think of off the top of my head, right?
Yeah.
So yes, obviously the abortion issue had an effect on the race, but I think that also had an effect on the race was that 2022 was really a rejection of extremism just across the board, and I think
you would say that
rejected the extremism of MAGA.
I think the issue is that that's not reflected currently in the polling, where Trump has a 60% chance of winning. But here's another thing. Fairy Queen, you know that in this current upcoming National Defense Authorization Act, there's two different portions that are offered by the Senate and the House in terms of the Selective Service Act. Do you know what those are? Okay, from the congressional side, the Congress, from the House side, House wants to make it from immediately as you turn of legal age for men, you are automatically enrolled into the Selective Service Act. You do not have a choice. And you are eligible to be drafted until 27, I think, or something like that, or it's a little bit higher than what is currently going on. From the Senate side, they want to add women to the Selective Service Act. And so what you're having is that when women are talking about keeping Ukraine going, you have to understand that a lot of women are going to take into account that as things go on and Russia becomes more desperate, if Russia thinks it's going to collapse, it's going to strike out, it might draw the United States into an actual war. And now you have to deal with the fact that you could be conscripted. And that's what a lot of women are going to think about, because for some reason, Congress this time around really needs to guarantee people will automatically be drafted. So Congress thinks there's a necessity coming.
Look, as an aside, I'm all for drafting women.
That's fine. I am too. It's just that it's a factor that women say that not a large portion, but a good portion would want to not be able to vote in order to avoid the draft due to some feeling of being afraid of what would happen.
Do you fear being drafted?
Do I fear being drafted? No, okay. I don't fear being drafted at all. I mean, first of all, like I'm for like women having to sign up for the draft, so like that's not really an issue for me. But you're not wrong that it is something that. Well, I will say it should be something that weighs upon. But this is the first time that I'm hearing of it, and I promise you, like if I went and I spoke to like the other women that I hang out with, like it would probably be the first time that they've heard of it. And
all the wackiness going on in this election cycle has buried that, just like a lot of other things.
We could do a new ad campaign called "Send Them First."
Draft our daughters
first.
Women and children first. Yes.
No, they're not getting out of it.
Women and children. Now, that was a 4chan op that was really funny under the Hillary Clinton campaign. Was that they had to draft our daughters. It was like women being into the draft. It was funny. But this is actually a legitimate thing this time around, because Congress actually thinks that we need to start making the Selective Service Act like a bulletproof.
They are wrong. Like, hold on. When it comes to foreign policy, like this is, I think, one of my more conservative takes, is that we have dropped the ball when it comes to preparing for the next war that we're going to get into. It is hopes and dreams, woo-woo, batshit crazy to think that we're not going to be involved in a conflict in the next 20 years. Something will happen.
That's optimistic. I say 2.
Something will happen. Yeah, I just used 20 years to cover
more of my money to spend.
Yeah, exactly.
There will be my money to spend, and thus we must spend. We must throw it into a fire.
We can. I disagree with you on this. I think there are very good reasons that America wants to be the hegemonic American empire. I think that's good.
They're good.
Not just for the world, but for us, right? I want people to watch my shows on TV. I don't want to watch fucking Mr. Bean or some British bullshit. I want people to be tuning into American pop culture, American stuff. I don't care about Eurovision. I think that's a fail state if Eurovision becomes the cultural norm. I don't want to be watching Korean dramas on TV. I want to be watching good old-fashioned American dramas, okay?
In a vacuum, yes. But the problem is, and this is kind of the issue with Ukraine for a lot of people, it's like, all right, sure, maybe I agree with Molbug, and I say that this is really just a civil war between Kiev and Moscow. I'm okay rooting for Kiev. I don't mind that. It's where you start the next $20 trillion bill starts looming over my shoulder when you, Wick, have not made up for the first one.
How much do you think's been spent in Ukraine by America?
Barely anything.
Yes, it's not trillions of dollars. It's a lot.
We didn't think the last one was going to be trillions of dollars. It was sold as quick in and out, 20-minute adventure, cheap, effective. It's not going to cost us $20 trillion.
What happens if we do nothing?
What happens if we don't? I might not have a $20 trillion bill. It's your job to make up for that. If you hadn't taken the easy route the last time...
You scared off the hose, okay? Fairy Queen left because
she's going to get a dessert.
Okay?
She's getting ready...
Excuse me? What did you just call me? You want me to vote for God knows who for the DNC, and you
It's
call
a
me
joke.
a
Calm down. It's
Yeah,
okay.
I heard it.
Oh,
I heard him say
no.
that. He said those words. He said dirty too.
What? Now you're just making shit up. But here, look.
Which
At the
thinking
end
of
of the day-
Barrett's bunny's rights now. This is the problem with this like jingoism, is it gets you a little bit too activated.
Look,
So I don't actually have
am
I don't have an
America's
issue with the
strongest
war.
soldier. Go ahead.
I don't have an issue with the war going on at the moment. I think it's actually a very effective use of money and military arms.
Yeah, we're
Just
just
because
having
they-
milsurp over there. Defensive
Right.
wars are way fucking easier.
Yeah.
You could shoot down a $20 million plane with a $20,000 javelin.
Yeah,
Who cares?
well, I don't know. Planes can get shot down with javelins,
Yeah,
but that's all right.
javelins are anti-tank stuff.
Stinger, but
No,
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
The point remains. Oh,
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
know?
fine.
I don't
I got
know
it.
if you do, but go on.
Okay.
I
But,
understand.
The big thing is that the war isn't going to just end with the degradation.
Stinger.
Of
That's what I was thinking of. Is that
Yes.
correct?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's not going to end there because the issue is that if Russia allows it to end there, where there's just a perpetual forever war, they already had it in an Afghanistan moment with the Soviet Union collapse. They can't afford that because there's nothing left if they do that. So they're going to lash out. So it's
So,
going
wait, so
to
they're going to continue. So they're going to do it even more, is what you're saying.
no, they would actually just
They're going to spread their resources even more thinly and wreck their
No.
industry even
Hold on,
more and
I
conscript
disagree
even
with
more
this.
people.
I disagree with this, and I'll tell you why.
And that's going to not lead to a second collapse.
What will happen? Putin, right, needs to be in an offensive footing, right? He needs this. He needs the Ukraine war to continue. He
So
needs
fucking good.
all these things. It does. It looks delicious, and I'm jealous now.
I'm eating Chinese food. I'm good.
Oh man. Okay, look, we could talk. I like Chinese food too, but it's
I'm gonna order some
un-American. We eat American food in this household. Okay,
That is
regardless.
Chinese food.
Regardless. So here's the deal. Like, every dollar we spend in Ukraine now is a dollar we don't have to spend later when Putin is in a better position. I think that keeping our global enemies down while supporting our global allies, such as Ukraine, such as NATO, such as Taiwan, right, is going to be good for the average American citizen. And I think that if China crosses that red line, right, if it crosses that red line and invades Taiwan, I will be on the platform. I'll start up my stream and I will advocate and I will vote, right, that we protect Taiwan, because I think it's better for America to have a free Taiwan than it is to be under the thumb of Xi Jinping. Because
Yeah, that chat.
We will send them all the thoughts and prayers.
He'll
we
be on the
have.
first live stream out, chat. He'll make sure that you guys go to
It's
war for Taiwan.
true. Look, because we need what Taiwan offers. We
Like what?
need those chips, right?
But we're already set up for manufacturing of those chips in the
We are
US.
not that's going to come online in years. We are not ready.
Yeah, but
now.
that was touted by the
no.
Democratic Party for the Chips Act.
Yeah, it's laying the foundation so that in
Mhm.
a few years' time, once all that's done, we can start to become less dependent on Taiwan. But if Xi Jinping decides next year to invade Taiwan, we are still dependent on those chips to a large degree.
Like another Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Sansol,
be great.
Sansol, thank you for the raid. Gang, Sansol is unbanned on Twitch. Victory for free speech. I was the one that did it. Okay, I'll take full credit. I know I'm usually a humble guy, but I called up Twitch headquarters just the other day, last week, while I was on vacation. I know I was just eating some cake, some flag cake with my mom that my mom made for me. It was delicious, by the way. She made it to my specifications. If she hadn't, she knew what would happen if she didn't. But okay, so she made that cake, and I was thinking, you know what, Sansol needs to get on band. And I know he's tried his best, but he's feckless and impotent. So I, a real American hero, have to step in on his behalf and help him out. So that's what I did. I called up Twitch headquarters, and you can see the result on your screen right now. Sansol is back in the game, and he is here. So, Sansol, hopefully we'll see you Thursday. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I think that, like, American hegemony, a lot of people mistrust the military because of what happened to Iraq.
Yeah, because
We
you
were
lied.
lied to. We were lied to. Yeah, we were all lied to.
Who went to prison?
And then you kept spending. And then you kept spending my money. Was the problem?
Hold on. Who went to prison for it?
I don't fucking know. I don't think anyone did.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking of prison. Prison's maybe a nice start, but
yeah, I understand, but that's like the minimal, right? That would be the minimal you expect. So
no, the minimal is just me getting my money back. I don't care about prison. I don't care. Like, hey, we put this guy in a glass. This dickhead went in a glass box. That's nice. I'm still out of $20 trillion.
How old are you?
Pardon?
When did you start paying taxes? I'm trying to figure this out.
When did I start paying taxes? That was 14.
Okay, so it wasn't your money; it was your parents' money. But okay, sure. I just trying to figure out.
We could just go back to like my future, whether or not that money would have gone to other public investments, whether or not it would have just been free to sit inside the American economy.
It wouldn't.
Okay.
No, because
you can tell me that you were going to fuck it up some other, like I was going to steal this from you some other way.
Correct.
That doesn't like improve my opinion of your position.
Yeah.
And make me think that like you were in the right there. You understand?
Yeah, but that's the issue here. Is like, I understand that you want to get money back, but that money's never coming back, and I don't really like discussing a not going to happen scenario. So that's why it's like irrelevant to me. But the big issue is what we can do is send fucking people to jail.
Why isn't that money coming back? There are resources out there.
The money never existed in the first place.
Those resources exist out in the world. There's cobalt in Africa. There's cobalt here. We have plenty of rare earth metals, but we don't mine it here because of pollution.
Hold on, what do you expect to happen here, right?
Keep going.
That's your job to figure out how you are going to repay my generation for the money you took. Or else, I don't want to get into another war.
And on that note,
I think it's pretty stupid to like draft me.
You can send me like a metric ton of cobalt. Okay, I will accept it. Okay, so I can buy and prepare a metric ton of bruschetta.
Yeah,
but I think I am gonna hop off and finish my dinner.
Gotcha.
Thanks for stopping in.
Yep, absolutely.
Appreciate the recipe.
Bye.
Peace out, Girl Scout.
Bye.
Okay.
Interesting. The issue, Wick, is that nothing negative ever happened to people that lied us into multiple wars. Also in Libya, Syria, everywhere else that we've been to. All the wars we started by the CIA in South America.
I agree that nothing legally happened. But to act as if they didn't. Well, no, the people who tortured in Abu Ghraib did go to jail.
The people who sanctioned the torture, the Gang of Eight, never went to prison.
Okay. But regardless, the idea that nothing happened to them, that they faced no repercussions, is just false. Now, you can say there are not enough repercussions. It wasn't enough because, again, like the whole kind of idea of hawkish conservatism, neocon type of worldview doesn't really exist anymore on a legislative stage in America. They are almost extinct. So to act as if they face no repercussions is just false. Like politically, they are persona non grata, and they're one of the reasons that
the
Trump
right.
was...
The issue is that hand in hand, war. We went to war with not just the right. You know that, right?
Pretty sure it was a tumor that killed John McCain.
Oh, yeah,
and while I would love to give that tumor a Purple Heart for its honorable
sacrifice, John McCain was a national American hero. Okay, I love John.
He wasn't. I wish he died twice.
Wow, let's talk about people wanting death on their political opponents, right?
It's very interesting to listen to this.
I said earlier, I'm totally fine with the calling for death. I'm just saying.
Let's just not do it on Wix.
There's no sense in complaining about. Well, John McCain is already dead, so we can joke about the death.
No. It doesn't matter if the words "wish death upon somebody" in a can be clipped anywhere. The YouTube algorithm will just strike it.
Okay, that's my apologies. I take that back.
Yeah,
that was done for comedic effect. Understand?
Yeah. But you just gotta be worried. You gotta be cognizant of that.
One of you used a slur. The one of you called for political violence. It's just we're here.
I'm more based, yes.
Whatever. But as long as you guys give me money. Well, not as long. No, don't clip that either.
Yeah. So how are we talking here? How much money we?
Yeah, don't clip me that either. I'm fucking around. But here's the end of the day. Like, I think John McCain was one of the people who, when asked, right, about Obama, when someone at one of his campaign rallies started talking shit about how Obama wasn't really an American and things like that. He had principles, and even though he was running directly against the man, was able to stick up and stand up for Obama and him being an American and part of our tribe, part of our political experiment, if you will, in America, right? That's why I value John McCain, is because he lived by his principles. He was a principled man, and I didn't agree with all his policies that he liked. I didn't agree with all of the things he's done. But when it comes down to it, much like Mike Pence, the guy had some principles, and he lived by them. And for me, that makes you a step above the rest. Unlike, in contrast, to JD Vance, who's a, what did that man call him? A lickspittle, bootlicker, right?
Can you tell me what JD Vance has done that is worse than what Kamala Harris has done as her tenure as the California AG?
Well, first of all, JD Vance has been a senator for 2 years. He hasn't done a lot. But what
so he hasn't done anything. I'm talking. Yeah, tell me what he has done that's worse than what she's done.
I think that voting against Medicare, voting against Social Security, and voting to cut SNAP is worse than what Kamala did or did not do during her attorney general.
So when she kept a man who was innocent in prison and denied the ability for him to use exculpatory evidence to get out of prison and held him there for 7 years, that was somehow not worse than JD Vance making a vote on the basis of his constituents.
Yes. Yes, I'll do you one better. Fecklessly bragging and kowtowing to these random TradCon ideals so you can, like, scare off normal people from the Republican Party, saying that you're going to tax single people at a higher rate. Single people who oftentimes, at this point, can't date regularly or can't have their own places regularly because they're struggling financially. That's a major thing.
Interesting enough, there's a thing called a child tax credit that already exists under both administrations. And nobody seems to have an issue with that.
You have to get to the kid part. It's the way you talk about it is the problem.
Okay,
he didn't say we already have child tax credits. Those are cool. He said we're going to tax single people at a higher rate.
That is literally the same thing.
If it's already in law, why did you say it like that?
Because it's about to expire. The child tax credit's about to go away.
So,
why did you say it like that?
While you're here, Artemis, sorry, this is a bit of a housekeeping thing. And because I was on vacation, I didn't get to properly plan.
No.
I do need you for a panel, honestly.
Oh, fuck. What is the panel?
Kamala Harris and the border.
What about it?
Whether or not she was in charge of it to any degree.
She was.
Whether she was a border czar.
Well, here. Let me give you my rundown. So you see whether or not I'm a valid person for that.
I need someone conservative for it. So yes.
Okay. So the issue is that Kamala Harris was tasked to deal with the border because it was Biden's most worst fucking PR issue. So he gave to her because she was VP, and he thought that he would just dump it on her and make it her fault. And then she looked at it for like 2 weeks and decided not to deal with it. And went on a PR run down to South America and says, and then met people. Outside of that, she did nothing. Nothing was actually done about the border. The people who started calling her the border czar were the news channels favorable to her because the czar title was given out a lot during the COVID timeframe. Like the COVID czar, the border, the pandemic czar, whatever the fuck they were calling it. But there was a lot of czar titles being handed out, and that was just a unofficial title given to her that multiple stories, AP, Axios, MSNBC all referred to her as during 2021. So the act of it as if that didn't happen is one of the most Orwellian things I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Well, we're going to be talking about it on Thursday if you want in, 6 o'clock. Up to you. But you don't have to answer now. You can just DM me. But I wanted to make you aware of that. And since you were here.
Yeah.
And since
what time? 6 o'clock, you said?
6 to 8, yeah. How I normally
I probably can get away with that, yeah.
Let me
no. When's Thursday? Is that the 1st?
Yes, August 1st.
No, I'm going on vacation.
What's more important, vacation or my channel, okay?
What's more important? Do you think about how much I get paid per hour?
Where are you going on
vacation? Do you think you're going to... I need to go to a family member's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to your family member. You know my birthday's coming up, gang.
That's nice. I gave you $50. There you go.
Thank you for the $50.
It's your birthday week.
Well,
You're a birthday week person.
No, I'm not a birthday week
No.
person.
Yeah.
I did celebrate with my parents because I was there, right? But it wasn't my birthday. My birthday's actually Wednesday. I'm gonna have a birthday stream. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm probably just do Collins like today. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. Tuesday, tomorrow, we have Staxiums versus Lactoid. They were arguing last week, or the week before last, I should say, about Trump's comments during the Charlottesville incident. So
Oh yeah.
they're going to have a one-on-one where they can both litigate that out. It should be fun for tomorrow. So tune in, gang, 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for that. It should be fun. Did either of you have topics that you wanted to bring up while we were here? Because I'm out of topics, gang. I would end it, but you paid me $50 to go for an hour, so here we are.
Well, me. No.
You paid the $50.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
you paid the $50.
If I pay the $50, I get to decide who goes first. So you go ahead.
Oh, fuck.
You just agreed to it too.
Shit. No, okay. When it comes to the political assassination, we were talking about conspiracies, and we were discussing presentation as part of presentation as being critical to a president's allure and their proficiency. And a lot of people disagreed, I think, last week on your call-in show about whether or not presidential allure actually counted for anything that was purely cosmetic or aesthetic, whatever you want to say, didn't actually have anything to do with how well they would run the country. Is that a position that you agree with, or does that, do you think that materially matters?
It matters to an extent when campaigning, and it matters to an extent when dealing with world leaders, but it does not matter for the day-to-day administration. I do not think whether they're well-spoken has any bearing on whether or not they can do a good job in the administrative and executive capacity in which they find themselves. What it does matter for is stump speeches, debates, and, to an extent, dealing with world leaders in private conversations, right? Though the world leaders in private conversations is a substantively different thing than a public stump speech. So what works in a stump speech probably doesn't work in that. But those are the three instances where I would say off the top of my head, and if we pressed and I thought about it more, I might be able to think of more, but those are the three main areas. That's my thoughts.
So it does matter. FDR was very aware of this. This is why he hid the fact that he couldn't really walk a whole lot. And he hid the illness because it actually does affect the United States in terms of the, let's say, the motivation, the spirit, the resiliency of the United States, that the president must be fit for the job and he must show strength. Because otherwise, things start turning bad when they don't have faith in the people running the country. Not in terms of their actual competence, but the person is strong enough to fight. The Americans don't really care what they're fighting for normally, as long as it doesn't directly go against them. But they want to see a fighter and nothing else.
What are your thoughts, Mr. Rube?
I'd have to ask. I think that's a proxy for other skills that are very important in a legal system where words determine how we interpret laws, and the laws themselves are composed of words. Whether or not you can actually understand these, whether you can interpret laws, whether you can interpret the behavior of people around you and translate that to the spoken word, the written word, whatever have you, I think is a pretty good proxy for your capacity to preside over the legal system.
Well, thank God that the president and the executive authority does not preside over the legal system, but
all right. Well, there you have it. That's a perfectly good example. I made a general misstep, and I should be, I think, trusted less having made that misstep.
Also,
like when I referred to javelins earlier,
thing.
which is
we can cite a few.
Perfectly legitimate, right?
To be clear, javelins have shot down helicopters, but they have not shot down jets. So you can use that. You can use the helicopter one.
I can use helicopter, but I still fucked up.
Yeah, but
earlier.
javelins, they can shoot down jets. They I'm sorry, not jets, helicopters. But I mean,
they shot down a MiG, like a MiG-8 or something. I can't remember. Like mid-24. But the
generally,
big thing
It's
is
probably
that
falling
the
apart anyways. It
they're
just ran into the
anti-tank
missile.
weapons. Is what
the,
they
the
are.
issue is that the president is a vessel for people's ideals. He's not really a vessel for legal theory. That's left up to more specific people that get nominated in the Senate.
One of the things that does concern me, right, of recent politics is the amount of executive power that has and how that has grown
Yep.
For decades at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bush engaged in it, Obama engaged in it, Trump tried to engage in it, Biden has engaged in it. This is something where we talk about races to the bottom. We talk about tit for tats and what that leads to. I think this is a good example of why some things you just have to be the person to put a stop to that kind of overreach. Because, again, it does work to a certain extent, but there are negative consequences when it comes to this, when you open these doors. And I think that, like, when we make excuses for violating these norms, for engaging in these kinds of overreaches of power, what we do is we enable the other side to do the exact same thing when they get into power, right? I guess maybe that's just me being a lib cuck, but it's something I really believe for a lot of reasons, right? And in a lot of venues. And I wish that we could rewind time. I know we can't, but I'd like to maybe try to mitigate the damage that has been done to as much as possible. One of the worries I have, again, this is a little bit of a callback to the beginning of the stream. I'm still not okay with what they did to Biden, right? I'm still not okay with how they forced him out. Even though it does look like she's polling better. It does look like it's better than it was before. Whether that's a bump or whether that's sustainable, I don't know. It's remained to be seen.
Yeah.
But
you want to wait till after the honeymoon is over.
Even if it does work out, I still think it was the wrong move. Not only because there were so many risks involved, but also for the precedent it sets in the future. Because if it works, they will do it more. And that's not going to be a good thing. I think that it's going to make it less democratic of a process. It's not exactly super democratic at this point, right? But it will become even less so. And I think that it's rewinding time to the 60s. And generally, I don't want to go back to the 60s.
68? 68 maybe?
Yes.
So do you know
There's a difference between running out on your wife and rubbing her nose in it. Because I think what Wick is saying.
That's an interesting statement. I will agree just for the sheer hilarity of that statement.
Wait, hold on. Explain the...
Wick, you agree. You agree, right? That there's a difference between running out on your wife and rubbing her nose in it?
Yes, there's a difference. I'm just unsure the connection between these,
No, let him cook.
You said that the process was a little bit more, it's not super democratic right now, but...
See, even people in my chat are saying, Obi-Wan Kenobi in my chat is saying, are you shitting me? If it works, and keep doing it.
Yeah. So here's
rubbing your nose in it. That's what rubbing your nose in it is.
So, do you know which political party had a lawsuit against them, and it was ruled that because they're a private organization, they can do whatever they want?
The Democratic Party, obviously.
Oh, weird. That is. When was that? How long ago?
Wasn't that in 2016?
No, that was a lot earlier than that. I'm pretty sure it was like in the 90s, wasn't it? Pretty sure, it was a while ago. But the Democratic Party has had this philosophy of they're a private organization; they can select who they want.
Yeah, I don't think
however
that's a
they
good
want.
idea.
Yeah, but it's the only political party that has decided that they could do that.
Because I want to say in who my nominee is as a Democrat. I don't want less of a say. I want more of a say, actually. And I don't like superdelegates. I don't like that concept. I know a lot of people do. But this idea, if it works, we're just going to keep doing it. Because sometimes the cure is worse than the disease, right? Sometimes, like, I'll give you an example that maybe you can understand, Toby. Trump's methodology, even if it works, is still wrong and bad for the country, because there's a difference between short-term working and long-term working, right? What works now may not be sustainable for something that you can do over multiple cycles. So when we talk about the media, big donors, and others being able to force out a candidate against their will and against the will of the voters, again, remember the day it dropped, he was polling at 53% of people, of Democratic voters that wanted him to stay in. Again, going against that, or just because they thought Biden couldn't win and they wanted to get someone who could, that was their stated reason, though I got some conspiracies of their actual reason, right? I think it was punishing him for hiking taxes on billionaires and punishing him for the Palestine stuff, right? I think those two things were what all the elites punished him for. But I think that even if it works, it's going to be a problem going forward, because now that Pandora box is opened and they're going to feel that they can do it again and continue to do these things. And I think that it takes power away from me and puts it in the hands of big money. And I don't like that.
Yeah. Because they could just, if the people at the top switch out to somebody less like you, who's more right wing or whatever in the future, they can just say, well, we think this guy's more electable, and he could just be another Trump. And then now you have a bigger issue going forward, because now you're just not represented whatsoever, but you're forced to vote for them.
Yeah, he's saying we force out candidates with votes all the time. Yes, with votes, not with media campaigns.
Yeah,
it's when you deviate from the process, you're establishing that, or you're kind of conflating or blurring the line between making a prediction that this will work and what feels good right now.
Yep.
It's the stag game. It's the classic stag game. We're all sitting here. Hey guys, we have a big pot of, switch the analogy, we have a big pot of like $1 billion right over here.
What's with your analogies, first of all? Your analogies
great.
have been
What's
weird.
with my analogy?
They're 100%. They never miss.
My analogy.
Yeah, your analogies. You're making analogies.
We've had Pisco on this fucking show. Hey, what if the electors were like a bank? And let me take a step back here. What if the bank was a dog?
Like Ren? Ren's here. He's a dog.
That's why, see, I'm so quick. I just saw it in the moment. No, It's a side game where you have the opportunity to get a big pot later on, but you have to take a chance on it. Or one person can defect and take a little bit now at the cost of everybody else. That's a stag game analogy.
That's not what I'm referring to, though, when it comes to these things.
Yes, it is. You don't know it, but yes, it is. It feels good in the moment. People think that it works, and they think it's always going to work. And because it also makes them feel good to have to get one over on their enemy, they're going to default to that strategy every time.
Grumpy Gen X says the Democrats did not use a procedure to remove Biden. Biden chose to step down. What doesn't Wick understand? Sure, let me go to your house, right? And let me take all your money. And then I say, hey, you have a choice. You can do what I say, and I can give you your money back, or you can not do what I say, and then I keep your money. Yes, it's your choice at the end of the day, but come on, is that really something that you're doing entirely voluntarily? We know that Biden fought to stay in the race, that it wasn't until he was coerced by loads of pressure from the media, from big donors, from inside the Beltway staffers, that he finally said, okay, fine, and he stepped down. But to act as if this was a voluntary decision that he made on his own, entirely with his own merits, is just not true. It's just not true.
Do you think they killed his dog?
No, I think his wife probably killed his dog. Wait, which one?
What are you talking about?
He's
killing
had,
a dog?
He's had
Hold
3.
on. The only person I know that has killed a dog is Kristi Noem. Threw her dog in a pit and shot her.
So Biden has had
she
a
wrote
lot
it
of
in her
German...
book, and she went on stage to talk about it. The dog killer, okay? She's crazy.
Yeah. So Joe Biden has had several German Shepherds over the last 10 years, all of which have attacked Secret Service agents like over 40 times between all of them.
At this point,
and they've all had to be put down.
At this point, Biden, his dog can bite whoever he likes. for the next 6
That's
months.
horrific. Why would
Whoever he likes.
he's a zombie? Why would you let him do that? You just spread the zombie voice.
Zombie voice.
So Ren's here. What did
Yeah,
we
what
bring
did
Ren in for?
Ren was saying it was beneath me. Go ahead.
Well, what I guess I don't understand, and maybe it's just because I'm a little bit older, Wick, but if we say that, and for me, I was a ride or die Biden guy. All right, I thought he was a good man. I think he was definitely old, but I never doubted his sincerity and that he was trying to help things. But if I trusted him enough to say, hey, he should stay in the race, then when he decides to leave the race, I have to trust him the same way. That's my opinion. Do I think there was plenty of outside push? Absolutely. We all heard the CNN, their little roundtable right after the debate with John King and everybody basically throwing up red flags everywhere, right? But we have to understand that if he hadn't thought it, do you believe that if he didn't think it was best that he wouldn't have stepped down?
Are we asking specifically Wick?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it is.
Okay.
Best in what capacity, right?
For the country. 100% for the country.
Oh, I don't know, and I'll tell you why I don't know. Because they could have made it and I saw some articles alluding to this, and I don't have them up, obviously, but that it became a mutually assured destruction kind of deal, where the people who were pressuring him basically gave him an ultimatum: you step down or we will burn it to the ground, basically. We will go to the mattresses. We will start an intra-party war over this. And would he saying, okay, well, I think it's best that instead of having this intra-party war, I instead acquiesce to their wishes and step down. Is that what's best for the country? I don't think it is. I can understand why he would make that decision. I think that we are basically traded a now problem for a much worse later problem. Because as I said, I think that this has opened a door, and a door that I don't like being open, where media personalities, big donors, and others can mount a campaign to force out an elected nominee, right? And we're not talking about pressuring people to vote a different way. We're talking about pressuring someone to step down against their will. Now, they eventually convinced him. I don't know how, right? I know that he said it was because he saw some polls or whatever, but I don't know if that's the main reason. I just don't.
I mean, we already know what the main reason was. None of Obama, Kamala Harris, or Nancy Pelosi have denied the reporting that they had gotten Kamala Harris's approval to use the 25th on Biden if he didn't step down. Nobody has.
Just because somebody hasn't denied it doesn't mean it's true. Wick, what you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. There are a couple Beltway staffers that were really they were talking about about how they'd resign themselves to a Trump presidency, right? That's what you're referencing.
One of the things, there are multiple things, right?
The problem is none of it's substantiated, right? There's a few different things popping up that are saying, hey, this happened. I have enough faith in Joe Biden that I think he would have, if it came down to that, I think he would have just stayed in. If they'd said, hey, we'd burn it down, I think he would have called their bluff, because it was a bluff. We've seen it happen before. The idea that, what we're going to do is we're going to vote for Jill Stein or whatever. And we saw exactly what happened. We saw 3 Supreme Court picks because of that, right? I don't think that happens again. And I think if that had been an opportunity, I think he would have stayed in. I think he legitimately thought it was best for the country, because by the time of 85, he was going to be struggling.
Okay, so here's my contention with that. Like, in 2016 when this happened, it was at a fundamentally different style and level. It wasn't Clinton's campaign, right, that was doing this. It wasn't Clinton's allies that was doing this. This time, it was Biden's campaign that was doing this, right? It was Biden's quote-unquote allies that were doing this. The phone calls were coming from inside the house. Whereas in 2016, it was the Bernie or Busters versus the Clintonites, right? In 2024, what it was is a lot of people who were ostensibly on Biden's side turned against him. And again, various reasons. Some reasonable, some, I think, unreasonable. But at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not this was the right decision this time around, what has happened is we have created a tool or a mechanism that isn't going to just be used this time around. It is going to be weaponized going down the road, right? Not in just this cycle, but in all the cycles continuing forward. That we have created a precedent where if we don't like a candidate enough that has been elected, duly nominated, right, by the rules of the game, that we can force them out or coerce them out, I should say.
I don't know. I think it was a real, what I would call kind of a crazy it's was it Aristotle that said a probable impossibility is preferable to a improbable possibility, whatever that was. I think it was a real, just kind of weird lining up of events that caused this. I don't think you'll see this replicated. And when you're talking about, I just think it was a unique situation. I think that I have a lot of faith in Joe Biden, though. So I think that he was in the race for the right reasons. I think he wanted to stop Donald Trump. I think he saw what could happen. But I think it wore him down. I do think it's kind of silly that it all came down to one really bad debate performance. I think that's a little bit crazy in that situation, that was the kind of linchpin that blew everything up. I think that was kind of weird, but...
And don't you think and this is conspiracy brain, I understand, but don't you think it weird that they scheduled the debate so far in advance? And again, this isn't normal that they have a debate in June. It's not normal. So again,
first one's usually in September.
I think that there was and again, I think this goes back to his Israel stuff, right? I think that there was a bunch of staffers, the ones who signed those anonymous letters, taking Biden to task for Genocide Joe and all these things. I think this was started by them. This was kind of like planned by them to say, hey, look, we're going to create an opportunity. And if this happens this way, which we think it might, we're going to take that opportunity and then try to force this guy out. And I think that a lot of people got on board with that. It wasn't knowingly, like this wasn't like them calling each other up and saying, oh, we need to do this, right? A lot of people saw this and then took their shot. A lot of people who were on the left took their shot at this. And I think it created this confluence of events where even though, again, the day he dropped out, a CBS poll was released where 53% of the Democratic voters wanted him to remain in.
He was trending in the right direction. Was a crazy thing to me. Even it had gone from 49 to 53 over the last 3 weeks.
Correct.
Yes,
so, which is even more indication of him thinking he should stay in.
No, not necessarily. That's just the people got past the debate performance. I don't know if you've talked about it before, but for me, the craziest thing I remember being, I didn't watch the debate straight on, but I caught highlights of it, and then I turned it on, and it was like watching a train wreck. And I first of all, I live in like the most conservative state in the United States, and I'm technically a registered independent, but I guess
Oklahoma?
You put me anywhere else. No, Wyoming, man. Like it's not even close.
There's not enough people there to be considered conservative.
We don't, dude. My vote means more than anybody else's here.
I know.
Right? I live in Pennsylvania. What are you talking about?
I get 3 electoral votes, dude. I get 3 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Almost to himself too.
But I was watching it and I remember thinking, this is over because Trump is going to take the advantage and become a little magnanimous and a little classy, and he's going to just win it outright. But we saw that he couldn't resist being himself. He couldn't resist being narcissistic and pushing the lies and that kind of stuff. So the farther you got away from that debate, the more people were just like, oh, it's just the 2 guys that we already knew. And that's why I think you saw the numbers crawling up.
And then also, again, JD Vance, I think the polls were always going to get closer. I think that we're seeing a bump in Kamala's polling now. I hope that's sustained. But I think that even if Biden had stayed in, I think we had a huge, really good shot in November because, again, Trump's Trump, and also JD Vance was a remarkably bad pick.
So I can already tell you.
Oh, go on, but I do have to wrap it up.
I can tell you with Kamala in, it's actually less as a foregone conclusion now than it was before. Where if Biden was in, New Jersey was up for grabs. There was
I don't
no
believe that.
the polling says otherwise. Like in those areas, they were just done with Biden because, like it or not, people did view his age as a significant problem, and he displayed it on that debate, and it stuck with people. And the
Can I
fact
give
that
sorry.
I was going to say that because it stuck with people, whether rightly or wrongly, that was an issue that was going to drag the entire time because nobody believes he could perform in a way that would have doused those concerns.
I know the title of your stream. I don't know if you've gone over this because I've been kind of back and forth. When it comes to JD Vance, has anybody considered that Trump kind of knew this was a bad pick? He just doesn't care because he wants the guy who's not going to do what Pence did. He wants the guy that's going to be like, oh, 2 slates of electors. I don't know. We might as well throw it back to the House. I feel like that's why I think it's almost a calculated risk where he's like, hey, this guy may hurt me a little bit, but if I win, I don't have to worry about shit.
I thought it was assassination insurance again, just like what Pence was in 2016. Or the man he has coming up behind him is worse than he is.
I think it's the other way around. I think it's pick JD Vance or we will assassinate you.
Oh well, he is CIA.
Well, we won't miss this time. So I thought what I thought
that's a possibility.
The CIA perspective.
But CIA would have even more of a reason to assassinate him because he's a VP.
Okay, it's 9:00. I am done streaming.
I had one question, Wick. What did you think of Lightbringer? Did you read Lightbringer?
Yes.
Oh God,
I really liked.
What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it. I am.
Were you a fan of books 4 and 5?
Actually, yes. I liked the expansion into the wider world of things. Right.
All right. Cool.
Look, we're talking sci-fi. Okay. So I loved the initial trilogy with Red Rising, Morning Star, I think was one, and I forget what the other book was. But I thought that was a great kind of coming of age story of the dissolution of the society and things like that. But I liked to see the follow-up series where it showed kind of the struggles of governance, right, and the struggles of democracy and freedom in that context, and how each of the things that they tried to do correctly were at odds. And I really like Lysander as the enemy. I think he makes a great enemy.
My favorite theme in it was that sometimes you fall in love with your own legend.
True.
I thought that was a really good allegory for it's almost the Dark Knight thing, right? You're a hero unless you live long enough to become a villain or whatever. I was a big fan of the 6th book. I didn't like 4 and 5 too much. I thought they were needlessly brutal in places, but
needlessly brutal. Look, yes, it was. Look, they didn't make you feel good after you read them. That's for sure.
No,
but
I threw it several times.
It was interesting. $10 from Metalworks 41190. If Biden's decline started this year and he refused to stand down the entire time, and anybody that knew about this let him get away with this for this long, then they need to be held accountable. I don't know what you mean by that, but we're going to end the stream because I got to go. Tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, Lactoid versus Saxams. I love you all. Wait, bye-bye, everyone.